and we should be back. So, folks, do let us know. This should hopefully be a little bit better. So please do let us know. Jan, Flawed, in chat, do let us know if this is all coming live. Unfortunately, I don't have the ability to get John's screen on my screen as it stands right now, but John will be able to handle that. And yeah, these things sometimes happen, don't they, John?
Yes. Yes, indeed they do. Whether it's sim racing or real racing, technical gremlins like to keep. Yeah, they like to keep us on our toes, George. I can see your feed, which is all we need. That's fine. Don't worry about that. Much better, says Flawed Genius. So there we go. The wonder from down under. With one of the fastest internet connections, not only the fastest brains and verbal equipment there is, he's got some of the fastest internet equipment there is in the southern hemisphere, it would appear. And we've got some really fast drivers out on track, George. Smooth segue there. Half a tenth of a second is currently separating the top three in qualifying, and Polovchuk is only 3/4 of a tenth of a second behind. Could it be any closer?
Well, it just got closer, unfortunately. Well, fortunately for us, because 7,000th of a second, Okroknikov there, the 410 car, has gone right up there with a 152.667, 7,000th of a second behind Del Fante for the Italian Job Gold team. That is as close as, just as you said it, John, and it got a lot closer.
It really did, and yeah, right, okay, so yeah, Flawed Genius in the chat, we all thought you were applying for a role in Doctor Who as a Dalek. Multitasking. I am a man of many talents. But yeah, let us know if the audio is okay. Hopefully, whatever gremlins and bugs we had there have gone to their bed or disappeared, because yeah, I will be doing some serious checking after the broadcast. I've got 2 races this evening. George is just working away on a few things in the background. Love to see it. That is the Tyre Sim Racing, and yeah, George using the full ACC TV camera suite there. Looks and sounds good again, says Smiley. Excellent. Absolutely superb. And Ruby is up on his lap at the minute, and he does find himself deep into the lap, although just as I said that, he's got green. Lucas Zupanchik in 11th position in the Porsche, the SR eSport team. Looking to make their way into the top 10. If they bring home a 10th, it's going to be 2 positions for the Porsche. But George, that the front 2.5 rows, I mean, Klassen has just popped himself up into 4th position then, as the kitty litter gets a visit from the Lambo. But Martin Klassen in 4th, and Abe Santema. That is where I knew Abe Santema's name from.
Yes.
I was doing some driver research with someone yesterday, and the name Abe Santema came up, and I was racking my brain as to where it was. I knew the name from. He drives for Thomas Higgins, of course.
That's
so
right.
There we go.
Yes, and
but yeah, up at the top, John, very close.
Very, very close, and it got even closer because Santema just went 0.2 of a second faster, maintains the 6th position there, but only 0.135 of a second separates him from pole. So we've got, within essentially a 10.5, 6 cars on the grid, and I believe Santema is the previous race partner with Jeffrey Ritchie, who I don't think we've got today. I think it's Sandro Van Sand back in the car for Thomas Enge once again. Debuted last time out at Valencia and did a reasonably good job across the line. Klassen goes, and oh my goodness, look at the timing difference there. 5 thousandths of a second. 2 thousandths of a second separating P2 and P3. That is astonishingly close.
Oh, wow. That is incredible. 7 thousandths of a second separating the top 3. You've got to feel for Rafael Malo in this position. He got to within 42 hundredths of pole position. He's 4th. How much closer do you need to get to pole position to get to start in second place these days? 4200s. He's less than half a tenth off the pole time, and he's starting in fourth place. Mind blowing.
Unbelievable. I mean, we're talking millimeters on track here. It's not even a car's distance between them. If we put them side by side in that finish, you'd have 6 cars lined up right next to each other all the way along the track. It's absolutely astonishing. So well done. Your grid, as it stands here, Del Fante for Italian Job Gold will take another pole position for themselves. Very, very good job there. Then Klassen for Simply Race Esports. This is one of their best qualifying positions, I think, of the season, John. Correct me if I'm wrong.
That is definitely up there. Yeah, they've not qualified well. They've brought home a couple of points in the races, but certainly, yeah, haven't done well in qualifying so far this season. Correct.
And then we've got Ogoroknikov, of course, in the 410 car. That is a brilliant time there. 7,000ths of a second from pole. Malho here for the Team Rocket in that beautiful McLaren. Lots of McLarens on the grid today, but takes P4. Beautiful time, as John was mentioning just a moment ago. Polovchuk here, I think, is this a new livery? Maybe it is, but racing for Christian there. So doing some good stuff there. And the 141 car will be in P5. Santima Thomas Enge, not the qualifying result they were looking for today, but they've got a bit of work to do. As John mentioned earlier, they have to finish 9 positions ahead of the Italian Job Gold team to take the season victory in the overall championship. Already secured their spot, of course.
Just to make it interesting in the last race.
Oh, yes. Very true.
Yeah, so yeah. So there needs to be, we've got one more race after this. Thomas Eng are still in the hunt. They need to finish comfortably well within 9 positions. And in fact, if they can get 9 positions ahead, they're in with a good chance of winning it. But yeah, they've got a long way to overturn this one. Sorry to interrupt you, but yeah, that's it. Yeah. They've got a lot of work cut out. But Van Sanden Santima, as we see, Van Sanden, his debut last week, he can put in a stint when he wants to.
Correct. Yes, we know that Van Sand is a fast driver. A new signing for Thomas Enge there, and 2 right on the championship points there. It's a 5:30 a.m. brain thing. We forget we've actually got 2 races this morning, so I have to get my coffee out once again and continue to make sure I get that right for everyone back at home. So my apologies. But your top 10 being rounded out by Veldman here for Fast Forward Racing, and then we've got the old Luka Zupanchik, sorry, for SR Esport. And I love this Porsche livery, John. I absolutely love it. It's simple and it's clear, and I love the blue.
Yeah, it is. You got to love a nice nice simple two-tone livery. It takes you back to right when you start designing a car. It just, they do look classy. Conrad Kula, I do like those liveries as well, to be honest. The SRE Simply Race car. And in fact, is that actually David Hill? No, it's not. It is Conrad Kula at Simon Track. Sorry, my apologies. It is Conrad Kula. It's going to lead the way. David Hill took qualifying, I believe. Then, of course, Ben Crook or Lorenzo Tresoldi. We'll see who's starting in the Mercedes in 13th. Then it is Vincenzo Senatore in the Iron Lynx Lamborghini. And behind him, 2 very quick cars. Mike Pasenko for the Absolute Motorsport Asolith team in that Ferrari. Another team that can get it done in the race for sure. And Matthew Feltham in the Audi, bringing up the rear of the grid. 16 this evening for the final round and the final 2 races of the VCO Sim Grid Road to the Grand Finals event in the FRL Super Sprint to the Grand Finals. The top 5 cars in the championship will make their way through into the finals. 6th, 7th and 8th will get to go into a playoff. In October, it's a 3-round endurance series final. In November and December, it's going to be GT3 and GT4s, and it is going to be a whole lot of fun, George. We said this last week, given the talent that, and certainly that I've been lucky enough and fortunate enough, the amount of race taken in over the series and what we've seen specifically from here. The finals, we've got a battle on our hands for the next 2 hours to see who brings this one home, but the finals themselves, they're going to be incredible.
That's absolutely right. Yeah, looking forward to those playoffs. It's going to be incredible. And then, of course, it all leads into the VCO SimGrid Grand Finals, which is going to be absolutely stellar to watch and for some to commentate on and some to participate in. So, round in the last corner here, side by side they go. I'm going to give it over to John to lead us away in race 1. John, this is going to be good.
Oh yes, it is. 1 hour race, 10-minute pit window. We've seen a bit of variety in the strategies. Most of the teams going for the 50-50 split right down the middle. Some trying to get in a bit early, some a bit later. Drive through for Ballawender straight out of the gates. That's Ballawender picking up a penalty for the petrol aficionados. Not an efficient use of the start. Eric Delfante clearing the way out of the front with Martin Klassen looking to go round the outside. Rafael Malo position as a Gornikov. Oh, goes slightly defensive in at the Mercedes arena as Polovchuk. Oh, and we've got VDES Junior going side. There's been a bit of contact there. That's a Gornikov who finds himself much further down the field as Delfante comfortably leading the way. We've got a car pulling over. I think a position redress may be underway at the minute as another car is dropping down the order here. We can see Rafael Malo as the timing boards update. Oh no, they haven't quite updated yet. There is Polovchuk who is 3rd place at the minute. He's really given Malo a run for his money. Malo with a good start, avoided the problems. Martin Klassen now in 5th position, so he started. Oh no, sorry, he is in 2nd place.
Yeah, correct. Yeah,
let me just.
It's the timing boards are playing a little bit of havoc with us right now.
Oh, he is in 5th, yes.
Currently in 5th, started P2, so he's fallen down unfortunately already. Very, very tricky. That's Ballawender up to P4 already despite the out of position on the start.
Yeah, so I think that might have been because of the out of position at the start. Oh, and that's not good for Abe Santema in the background, 6th position then. He's just run wide on the exit to the Mercedes arena. And is that Feltham? It's Illinger. It's Illinger in the Audi there, who is right behind him. Illinger's not long got past Remy Loesch. In fact, no, he's not. He's not got past Remy Loesch because he ended up with Abe Santana separating him as they come into the final chicane. What an opening lap that's been. And it is Illinger putting all the pressure on Santema, who is in 7th position now then. And Rubia in 9th. Conrad Kula in 10th as it's a straight drag race, as we can see Martin Klassen going straight. Oh no, he's not going straight side by side. He's had to go back into the slipstream, and here comes the McLaren in the background of Thomas Egg. They're going to find a good run up the inside, I think, and rotate the car. It's going to be side by side up ahead into the Mercedes arena. Oh, so close, no contact made. Look at that move by the McLaren up the inside. Incredible move there by Abe Santema to position that up the inside, George. That is phenomenal.
Perfection there from Santema, and so confident to go up the inside, essentially running right on that inside curve, which is absolutely troubled territory, and manages to get the beautiful move done there on the Panda Esports Racing Team. Stunning stuff. He'll move himself right up. Now he's got another Lamborghini to go for. Wants to make the top 4 McLarens a top 5 of McLarens. And will, of course, go back to a number 4 McLaren at the top once the drive-through for Ballawender is served. 2 laps remaining for that to happen. But this little battle pack at the back here, 5 cars separated, 1 second between them. That is close.
Oh yeah, it's just as close as we saw in qualifying. No surprise we only had 4,200 hundredths separating the front 2 rows. Half a tenth between 4 cars. As you can see, Conrad Kula trying to get his way past Nrubia. Nrubia and the Tire Sim Racing team, they've had some good results so far, got some good racing done. Luck always hasn't run their way, and they're looking to get it done this evening. We've got Smiley Veldman needs to get Illinger in a Civic. Let's go 252. FRL love for Veldman and Illinger. I get the feeling that be a bit of strategy involved in that one, points wise, for teams looking to get their way through to the final. Gornikov though, I'm glad you jumped on there. I was going to say he's down in 11th position at the minute. and that was a driver, one of the drivers that was within that 4200s at the start of the race. A bit of an incident at the start. We'll see if any penalties come through, but at the minute he's got the pink Lambo, the VDES junior car, coming under pressure from Vincenzo Senatore, and it's not the easiest run that he's got, because it is Conrad Kula in the BMW for Simply Race Esports. I've seen him driving for a couple of teams, all of course connected with the Simply Race teams, and he is very, 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 very quick indeed. The BMW just not quite performing at the Nurburgring. Not really. Doesn't really perform massively well against some of the newer cars, unfortunately, and that's certainly being found out, because, yeah, like I say repeatedly, Kula and the drivers behind the wheel of that thing are incredibly quick. It's just the car itself that's not running too great. Up in third position, Polovchuk in the Racing for Christian, and I may have an idea what it's about. I'll check Twitter. Yes, I will check Twitter, but it's Polovchuk Racing. He's up in third, and he is given Rafael Malo, who's now up in to second position, and this definitely does make the closing race interesting. Santema down in second is going to be keeping a close eye on the battle for the podium up ahead, because it really can. Oh, there's Philip Ballawender coming in the pits to take his drive through. Obviously needed to do that in the opening 3 laps. And that is going to put him so far down at the pack. It is quite incredible. And in fact, let's have a look at this into turn number 1. Let's jump on board with 9th. And have a look at what is going on there. It is Conrad Kula right in the middle. Stuck in the middle with no singing. We've got in Rubia. Ballawender's going to come out behind this battle, George, which is why I was highlighting here. It really doesn't get much worse. I've mentioned this before. Oh, look how close Gornikov. He's taught his front 2 rows pace-wise. He is getting Ballawender. He's got Ballawender now ahead of him. Oh no, so that's Ballawender. Also, Gornikov's ahead of Ballawender.
Yeah, so Ballawender just coming out of the pit and has, yes,
of
somehow
course he is, yes.
back. So Kula here will continue the fight with Ogoroknikov at this stage, and that McLaren is like
dead last.
Yep. Dead last, exactly. Unfortunately, our timing boards, folks, that you're seeing on your screen right now are taking just a little bit longer to update than they normally would. So poor John here, who has to watch them, is getting all sorts of confused. And I would too. I'm watching those timing boards too. That timing tower not playing friendly today for us, sadly, John. We've got a couple of replays queued up as well when we're ready to move on to those, the race start and Ogoroknikov's issue at the start of the race.
Oh, nice.
So let's cue some of these up. We're just going to have a quick look at the race start here. So as we said earlier, Klassen had a really terrible start there, started P2 and ended up falling back. It was a clean start for Del Fente. He managed to get through turn 1 just fine, but keep an eye on the second row of the grid. The Rocket Sim Sports car and the Ogoroknikov there in the white McLaren. These two coming together just a little bit. It got very close into turn 1. Ogoroknikov was trying to hold that off, but had to brake because the Italian Job Gold team was unfortunately very, very close to him. And now, as we'll keep on board with this just for a second, then we've got another replay of just what happened to that 410 car. And unfortunately, after that little bit of a rear bump there from the Simply Race Esports team, and that's Feldman going for a bit of a move there. Panda Esports under all sorts of pressure right now. And is this going to be a move from Ogoroknikov? No. Sticks her nose up the inside, backs out of it sensibly. But Kula, as you said, John, the BMW, not a particularly performant car, but that McLaren's got no way to get past at this stage. So we do go for our second replay of the evening. So we'll try and hopefully get a little bit extra here with this. We should be able to see Ogoroknikov with that little bit of contact, John.
Yeah, so you can see then coming into it was 2x2, full Noah's Ark, and in fact it went 3 wide in the background, as you can see. Yep, just a full concertina effect on the way into the Mercedes arena, and then little bit of ice hockey on the way through there. The car ahead not quite turning in quicker for a Gornikov to get the car rotated. Makes that contact, and that is a difficult place. It is uphill. You really are putting a lot of weight on the back of the car with the acceleration. You're just coming off the brakes, in fact, and trying to turn it in. And no room at the in for a Gornikov. There is room for him inside the top 10, where he is positioned at the minute. But Konrad Kula might not be in the most highest performing car on the grid, but you can't take away his racecraft and race IQ, and he's employing it all at the minute to fend off the advances of a Gornikov, although it might be, no, he's not again. He is just absolutely keeping him in check there.
Yeah,
phenomenal drive. Oh no, has he got him? On you go, George.
He has indeed. Yep, so just as we said it, through turn 16 there after the chicane, got a good run on the exit, and Kula just running a bit wide there in the BMW, and through goes Roknikov there to take P9, goes defensive. Oh, a little bit of side-by-side action here. They're going to go side-by-side into turn 1. The outside line doesn't have a lot of grip. Kula will end up falling back into that P10 once again, and there's nothing he can do. It's all she wrote there, unfortunately. And this is Port Senatore in the Lamborghini, the 69 car. So he'll now start the chase after the BMW ahead, and there's battles going all the way around the grid as it stands. This one,
third place.
Yeah, oh yes, there we go. We need to go on board with this because Polovachok is right on the back of Malho now. So a battle between Pitbull Racing and the Rocket Sim Sports team.
Yeah, indeed, and as they head down towards the hairpin, they're going to come up towards the Schumacher S's. It's Maka v Maka in Germany. I was just in the middle of checking. We'll get information about the racing for Christian S. We'll get confirmation of that. But as we can see through the Schumacher S's, I'm directly on board with Polovchuk here. We're getting some great shots of the two of them racing through Sector 2. They're going to come down into Advan Bogan and into that final chicane. This is going to get interesting, to say the least. Neither of these drivers will be looking to lose position. They certainly don't want to be losing time, because that is Martin Klassen in 4th place. He might be 2.4 seconds down the road, but 2.4 seconds is not as much as you think around this track, especially when you've got sections like this at Van Bogen. It's the very quick version of the chicane, and that was a whole lot of breathing in there. Pavlo Polovchuk so much later on the brake seemingly there than Malo, and controlled it all the way through. These tyres are going to be a whole lot, quite the difference in setup. Yeah. Polovchuk being able to brake that way, George, that was close.
That was very close, as you rightly said. That was a breathe-in moment. It was tuck everything in as much as possible, because that was pretty close. The braking zone down there into the chicane, turns 14, 15. Very, very tricky to get right sometimes. You've got a very...
so close, 8th place.
Oh, moving on to that right now.
Rubia almost parked himself in the boot of the Audi. Yeah, that is one Lambo badge edition. I'm sure Dominic Illinger wasn't particularly looking for, but here comes Rubia again. The tyre sim racing car, we know that they are very quick, and look at the exits the Lambo is getting versus the Audi. But this is Illinger. This is the fast forward racing team that have had the Audi up in the top 10. They've dominated, and they've helped break the Meta McLaren dominance. They've got themselves ahead of Lambo in the races, and he's got himself ahead of Rubia at the minute. And much like Kula defending from a Gornikov, you've now got Illinger defending from Rubia, and Rubia in the slightly faster car, and he will be getting hurried along as well, because just behind him that is Igor on a charge. Gornikov qualified in the front 2 rows, found himself back down in 11th. He's in 9th place, and they're going side by side. It's the Panda car. It's having a bit of a problem there, massively slowed up there. Remy Lowe's just out of no place. So I'm going to keep watching that as we watch the live action. But Remy Lowe has given up the position to Dominic Illinger through the Mercedes arena. Everything was fine, and I tell you, that's going to be another position there, as Gornikov is getting massive amounts of slipstream through the Advan Bogen King. He's flashing those headlights. Loesch not doing much defending there at all, and that is side by side. Here comes the BMW SR Esports as well. That is Konrad Kula. Senatore is going to be popping his nose in at this one as well, George. Out of no place, George. Remy Loesch, I'm watching the replay, I'll get you the info, but Remy Loesch making this battle a whole different complexion.
That's right. Yeah, lost it there. Just sort of ended up being a bit of a bottleneck, unfortunately, for this train of cars. And Rubia there
Schumacher S.
absolutely sent it. It was absolutely beautiful there from Rubia. He took the advantage. The Panda Esports racing team were getting overtaken on the inside by Oroknikov, who went for a big send into the chicane. And then, yeah, Rubia said, right, well, there's a gap there. I'm going to take it. Did so cleanly, and through he went. So great race awareness there from Enrubia, and goes up. By the way, Klassen in P4 currently has a 5-second penalty. The reason for that is not 100% known at this stage. We will keep an eye out for any of that information. And now Kula as well under a bit of pressure, putting a bit of pressure, sorry, on Loesch as well. So I don't know, maybe we did see Loesch run a little bit wide. I wonder if he's just holding a bit of damage, John.
Well, what happened was it was the middle phase of the Schumacher S. So for watching, we're on board with him now. It was now. On the previous lap, the back of the car stepped out to the left. Remy invited it back onto the driving line. The car said, no thank you, Remy. I'm going to go to the other side now, if you don't mind. Remy said, no, please. Let us continue onwards. And the car at that point went, well, okay then. Let's finally do what you want. So clean up on aisle 3 for sure. But through the Schumacher S, yeah, Remy Loesch just not quite holding it through that middle phase. And yeah, the drivers already will be going flat out through there, foot pinned on the skinny pedal on the right hand side of the rig. And speaking of on the right hand side, that was very much a look by Pavlo Polovchuk on the right-hand side there to Rafael Malo. Again, when an immovable object meets an unstoppable force, these two are exactly the same car. They've got otherworldly talent, pace and consistency between them. This, George, this is an even bigger nightmare, I guess, than coming out the pits and having to battle your way back through past continuous amounts of battles. A driver in the same car as you around the track. Yeah, trying to craft out an overtake in these situations is what separates the cream of the crop.
It certainly does, as you've really got to wait for a mistake. And that's the problem with the quality of the driving here in the Sprint Series. That is a rare little thing to happen. Loesch is gone. Loesch is gone, and he is done and been it at turn 7 there. So something major has happened between him and potentially Senatori as well. We might be able to pull that up on a replay.
I'm on a replay now.
Lucky you're on a replay. Do tell us what's gone on there, because he's gone right off the track.
Yeah, so I think what's happened is his back tyres have not reacted well to the slide he had through the Schumacher S. Oh, yeah, a bit clumsy there. That was a touch clumsy by Senatori, who has continued on, but I'd imagine that's going to be at least a 15-second penalty if I had to guesstimate on what I'd seen so far over the series. As you mentioned there, through turn 7, it was a couple of corners after the Mercedes arena. They had exited. It was a good exit by Senatori. Loesch was certainly more than in the hunt.
Indeed, and by the way,
Senatori slightly too on the brakes. Oh yeah, on you go, George.
No, that's fine. Orogokov there is going to get up ahead of Illigner, so that's a great move there by the VDES Junior Esports driver. He is on a charge back. He knew he was in for a potential P2, potentially P1 in this race if he managed it well, and being taken out a little bit earlier on. Well, I mean, he came into contact, a little bit of space, maybe not given or not anticipated. Nonetheless, the stewards will sort that out, I'm sure, either during or post the race. But that was a beautiful move on the Audi, and he moves up to P6 now and starts the hunt on the McLaren train that is ahead. Klassen will probably fall down to just in front of him once that 5 seconds is served in the pits. By the way, we have lost, unfortunately, another car. Feltham and the Michelin Motorsports team having an electrical problem in the car. They were in the pits for some time and unfortunately have retired the car. So very unfortunate to see them drop out. But your top 5 at this stage running through, because we haven't given them a lot of screen time. Here is the Italian job goal, Del Fante, putting on a masterclass performance. Once again, the virtuoso out front in this McLaren. He is 5.8 seconds clear of Malho in P2, who's still battling here with Polovchuk. We've been on board with this fight earlier on. This is not getting any cooler between these two. No love lost and no love gained in this race so far between these two. Then we've got Klassen with the penalty in P4, and he's under a lot of pressure now. by the very, very rapid Stentima for Thomas Enge, who are looking to recoup some sort of result to try and make their way back into P1 in the standings. This is a pretty decent start for the Thomas Enge team for the most part. They would like to be up in the top 3 job, but this is better than being down in P13 where they were at the end of race 2 at Valencia.
Yeah, most definitely. The results have trended upward. They were, as you said, one-time championship leaders, and it's only the Italian job that have won races in the series. The only problem is they've won twice as many, and that is quite the distance. But Abe Santema and the gang certainly won't be giving up anytime soon. Oh, let's jump on board then. Excellent timing there. Salvo and Rubia just to steal the train of thought there. He is looking to put pressure on Dominic Illinger. The fast forward racing team really are going to have to start fast forward in that Audi. If they're going to, I hasten to say, potentially hang on to a top 10 position. With the pace they're showing, they can certainly find Conrad Kula and Vincenzo Senatore come knocking sooner rather than later. We'll see, of course, what the driver swaps bring. We're already 20 minutes. I genuinely thought we'd done about 2 or 3 laps. We're 20 minutes into this race. Polovchuk is still 4 tenths behind as we still watch in Rubia and Illinger chasing one another down to the embanked hairpin. It's going to be up through the Schumacher-S. Now, is the problem that Loesch had a Loesch problem, or is it a Lamborghini problem? Certainly there's 3 McLarens leading the way. Klassen will be hoping that was certainly localised to a driver, so we can see in Rubia there. That's just so smooth. It's not the easiest, George. You know yourself, you do some ACC very well, actually. Some ACC race driving yourself, do the old hour-long races with OOR. Octane Online Racing, is it?
It's spot on, mate. Yeah, I do indeed. And we've just had the 6 hours of Nurburgring recently.
Yeah, and so you know yourself, flat out through the Schumacher-S. Opinions, please.
Terrifying, scary, full confidence. Yeah, it's certainly an interesting one. If you can manage to do it and do it smoothly, it certainly can make up a lot of time because it essentially turns it into a straight, which is absolutely lovely. By the way, Loesch under a lot of pressure now from Pasemko. But by the way, the Lamborghinis very, very fast out of the corners. They've got great acceleration. They get up to their top speed very, very quickly. That's why we're seeing them quite competitive to here. Klassen, as you can see, up in P4. The interesting thing about this circuit that I found over the course of an hour stint, so it was a 6-hour race I was involved in, but an hour stint, was actually the PSI of the tyres and how many curbs you're hitting. There's a lot of time to be found if you're riding the curbs. A good example, turn 4, which we're just coming up towards here with Loesch. We'll stay on board with him. We'll kind of try and show you this. That's a very wide line there from Loesch. I think he's really struggling on his tyres, or maybe some damage. That curb right there on the apex of turn 4, very, very tough on the PSI of the tyres, so you can lose a lot of temperature. You can lose, or you can actually gain temperature, technically speaking, but you can lose a lot of PSI in the tyres, and that's one of the things to manage. Oh, a little look there from Pasemko. Nothing he can do, but look at the lines that Loesch is on. I don't think he's got tyres. I think he might have lost a lot of pressure in those tyres already. But we'll see. Another corner as well. That's an inside look. Can't make it done. Loesch is holding the door solidly closed there. And Zupancic, but on the inside, it's a bad run for Loesch, and up the inside, but can't make it done. Oh dear, that's tight towards the Schumacher-S's.
Yeah, it really is. That is as tight as it gets. I was actually watching the battle. Stay on this one, though, because there is battling going on further up the field, but that is quite the battle. I did mention Pasemko and the absolute Aslith team in the opening. I said they were a team that could get it done in the races for absolutely sure. And they're making up places at the minute, and they're certainly putting Remy Loesch as I would 100% agree with George's summation. The Lambo tyres are suffering because Loesch is coming under all kinds of pressure. That was a slight bit of contact as he retook the defensive line there. It's going to cost Pasemko a bit of time out with the Coca-Cola Out with the NGK chicane, into the Coca-Cola curve. Roche, all kinds of wide there as the Ferrari ends up right back on the outside line, flashing the lights furiously to let Lowe's know he is not happy about the sudden re-emergence and the fact that he is now side by side with the Porsche of Zupancic. His look up is at Zupancic, who's looking right up that inside line, and not only that, here comes Lorenzo Tresoldi. PLR Esports have won races and taken pole positions in this competition. They're in 14th place at the minute. They've got 3 positions directly ahead of them. Now, I don't know if Remy Losch is... Oh, they've made contact on the exit, and it's going to cost Pazemko the most amount of time, and he's going to instantly lose 3 positions as Ballowender, after a first lap drive-through penalty for being out of position on the start-finish grid. He's not only caught back up to the pack, he's just overtaken the driver who was battling for 11th position. He is now in 14th position. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to keep up there. I was going to say Remy Losch. He was going full Carlos Sainz there, bringing Lando Norris into the battle to help fend off the invaders from afar. But it was certainly... oh, wow, that's some phenomenal driving there, but it's a Pazemko. I often say, George, it's the 3rd, 4th, 5th driver. It's the driver at the back of the pack of battles that can often be the best position. Ballowender, hold my beer.
Yeah.
Throws it right in there, and the Porsche Zupancic. Genius.
Yeah, it's absolutely brilliant. And we've got a true fight for the ages here, because we've got the Italian Lamborghinis and Ferrari and Pazemko. Pazemko, unfortunately, really losing out there. Rubia's gone. Hold on, Rubia has gone. So the 134 car has had a spin there on the final corner. I'm not sure if that's involved in a little bit of contact. We'll see if we can bring that up on a replay at some point later in this race. But Rubia has fallen down to P10. So was in the battle a little bit further up, but unfortunately that has come to a solid end. And by the way,
he's lost the back end.
He has entirely. So we were talking about, was it Lamborghini problems?
Oh, he's 360'd.
Oh dear.
No, he didn't 360, my apologies. He did a 180, 360, he'd been facing in the same direction. So he came through the final chicane, and the back of the car just at the pit entrance, as he put the foot down, started to step out on him. He had to then take avoiding action, so he didn't take out Dominic Illinger, who he was trying to overtake at the time. Beautifully managed to avoid contact with Illinger, but when he put the foot down to try and correct the mistake, the car just did a straight 180. The Lamborghini tyres are not enjoying the countryside, not enjoying the conditions in the German countryside. Is where it was going, that one, as Remy Losch comes into the pits as soon, George, as soon as that pit window opened, we see a Lamborghini in, and if I was a betting man, Rubia is in next.
That's right. We've got a 5-second penalty for collision with the car 67. That is Ballowender. So a drive-through, now a 5-second penalty. Tresoldi, which we're on board with right now, under a lot of pressure from Pazemko. As you said, Losch in. I suspect you're absolutely right. These other Lamborghini drivers will be trying to manage the tyres as much as possible. The pit window has been open now for a minute and a half. So we'll keep an eye on Klassen. No, that's actually the McLaren of Santima deciding to come in. Maybe trying to look to do some sort of undercut there. So Sandro Fansan will jump in that McLaren momentarily. Klassen, up to 20 seconds of penalties. So was that something involving... Oh, that can't have been. I'm not quite sure what that's actually involved. That must be the contact earlier on in the race, potentially, between him and Orognikov earlier on, I think. But not 100% sure on that, to be completely honest with you.
Yeah, no, we will get, I'm sure between the 2 races, James Williams, of course, the wonder chap who has brought the, founded the whole FRL.
And just on board now with Ballowender. Ballowender has just made a beautiful move there on Zupancic to go up into P11 as it stands right now. We've got a couple of cars in the pits. Tresoldi in the AMG has pitted. The Semco has pitted, as well as Santima, which we mentioned before. So 3 cars currently in the pit window right now. There will be a mix of strategies here. Do you want to undercut? Do you want to try and overcut? I suspect, John, that the undercut is probably going to be the best here, especially for the likes of the Lamborghinis.
Yeah, indeed, the track conditions are improving in the favour of the drivers. Of course, it's cloudy, it's getting colder, so yeah, get in, get out, get your tyres up to PSI and get them running. Because as you say, George, as you mentioned, linking into your point, it is so important to manage your PSIs correctly around this course because of the amount of times you spend on some of these curves, and indeed on the exit to the Mercedes arena. Get over the curve, get two tyres in the drainage and use that to hook the car line, much like coming off the Kemmel Straight and making your way through Melbourne. Not quite a drain, it's got her on the inside, but you get the point, I hope. So yeah, getting those tyres managed and getting them running, especially even if you can gain a second or two and get close to the car ahead as they're coming out the pits, it's absolutely game on, because again, you've got your tyres up to PSI, you can get that grip and you can really throw it in there, although that might not be the case for the Lambo drivers as we're on board with Martin Klaassen. He stayed out 30 minutes left of the race and just having a little bit of a wiggle, some extra steering input on the way into the Mercedes arena there. And I, of course, was proven massively wrong once again as Salva and Rubia, despite the extra shimmying and shaking that we saw in the tyre sim racing. Lamborghini still out of the pits, didn't go in, 8th position because we've had Pavlo Polovchuk into the pits, and it is Ihor Yudzetsky that has come out. We're still on board there with Klaassen, and that puts Polovchuk just behind Ellinger. Casiero, let's see, into turn number 1. There is Yudzetsky, and I tell you, there's not a big gap at all between Polovchuk and Simone Alessandro Casiero, who's driving for Thomas Eng. And we're actually going to get a pretty good look. And in fact, yeah, jump on board helmet cam with Casiero, and we'll have a look and see. There we go. So there is the car that was battling for 3rd position, George. Undercut. Step 1 for Casiero and Thomas End, I would say, has been pretty much completed, because that is definitely the back of a car that you want to see when you come out the pits. They were running in 3rd place on the way in.
Yeah, spot on. So they've absolutely nailed the undercut there. Has really worked out for them. And of course, it is not Sandro Van Sant in the car. That is Casiero, as mentioned there by John. So not the same as we saw in Valencia. They're switching around the drivers just a little bit here, potentially due to some availability issues or scheduling situations. But this is looking like a pretty smooth start here for Casiero. Really starting to find that pace in the McLaren, and they've got to do it. As you said, the back there of the car ahead, looking a little bit closer than he likes, which is good. So yeah, we'll keep on board and we'll have a little look. But this battle is going to start heating up. By the way, still leading the way, still yet to pit. Our leader Del Fante has just set a personal best of a 1:53.06. I don't think that's actually the fastest lap of the race. I think there was a 52 in there earlier on. Still quite a few to pit, and only about 3 minutes left in the window now, John.
Yeah, there is. As you say, 3 minutes left. And it's not often, although saying that, yeah, we're close to have the grid, but we usually do see a lot of cars go straight 50-50, but yeah, a lot of them deciding to stay out. That's put cars like Vincenzo Senatore and Conrad Kulo that we can see there up to 6th and 7th overall. Martin Klaassen.
That was a huge moment for Senatore. Crikey. And that's not going to do his tyres any favours, but you can just tell that the Lamborghini starting to have a few little issues there. Well controlled, though, by the 69 car, because that was very nearly a sideways trip into Barriere, which, as we both know, John, is not where you want to be with 27 minutes remaining on the clock.
Yeah, no, definitely not. As I've said before, these cars are held together with super glue, hopes and dreams, and if those hopes and dreams get snapped off the front of the car and the aerodynamics go, this is a fun course to drive. It is an amazing course to drive. You can get some really good overtakes. You really do need your aerodynamics, though. You need that top speed, although losing the rear spoiler on through Ad Van Bogen, maybe not the worst thing.
No, I
to get
can.
the top speed up, but the rest of the time you want that car planted to the ground.
Yeah, it's really managing the tires around a circuit like this is really the tricky thing to do. Your fuel, the damage you can manage to a degree, but you're absolutely right. I mean, especially if you're in an aero-dependent car, those would include the Lamborghini and the McLaren. Any damage to those cars, and you are not going to be running very easily around this circuit. The tires, though, really where it's at. If you can manage those pressures, manage the amount that you're hitting those curves. I mean, you've got to manage. It's a bit of a balance to manage at the end of the day, John, because you've got to figure out, do I need speed this lap, or do I need to look after the tires? It's a real balance between those two things on track. So almost, very much what the Formula One drivers do and have to do around this circuit as well. There's a little bit of a strategy. You can just stay off the curves, but you are going to lose quite a lot of time in that lap. So a lot of these top runners not able to have the time to really do that. But Klassen right now still holding a 20-second penalty. We're on board with them right now. They're right at the end of the pit window. I suspect, John, we're going to see them come in this lap. So they've done quite the stint out there. Well over half the race at this stage, and 26 minutes to go. Conditions are kind of in the right zone, so getting out there on fresh tyres and really being able to send it. The 20-second penalty obviously is going to really damage their race, though. So in the pits they come, as predicted, as prophesized, and back on board with your race leader in now Pipparata now in the car for Italian Job Gold.
Yeah, they're leading the way, and I think we're going to see some issues for two of the cars. Gornikov comes into the pits. I don't think Senatore is going to make it just so close for Senatore. I think we are going to see an issue for the BMW. Oh no, wait a minute. Oh, David Hill, he did make it into the pits.
Yes, I think he did, yes. So he's out now as well. Balawenda's coming into the pits as well, has to do so, because that pit window is ticking down 10 seconds ago. Yeah, I think he'll just make it in. So that's timed to perfection, because the pit window is now officially closed, and he is in the pit.
Wow. That is how we get it done. So yeah, still in the pits as the pit window closed. Will it give them any advantage? Klassen and Balawender, it is going to be an uphill battle for them. They've got those penalties to serve. That is the penalties dropped off. It is Italian Job Racing that are going to cross the line with Luciano Whitbit in second place, giving chase Cassiaro that we're on board with in effectively fourth position. Where is Gornikov? Oh, Gornikov's behind. Gornikov is behind, but that is again very, very close considering how far down the Gornikov's car is. Timo Rakhmetov for the VDES Junior eSport car that's come back out. And Rakhmetov, fifth position, so much closer. Balawender, of course, still stationary. Senatore is out as Bjorn Dale. And that is 8th place. They're back out as well. David Hill in 9th. Nico Veldman is up to 6th. We'll let this all update. So we're right. Yeah, this is taking a bit of time to update, but we should get some. There we go.
Yeah, that's
the
looking a
madness
little
is
healthier.
commencing.
Yeah, that's right. So P4 now for the Thomas Enge team. Rakhmetov for VDES Junior have come out in 5th. It's actually quite impressive because they've been on a bit of a charge back through the field, and considering they were pretty much dead last for a moment of time, getting back into 5th after the pit stop puts them in a great position there, and their tyres are going to be a little healthier than the Thomas Enge car just ahead. Zudetsky up in P3, and the battle continues between these two. A little bit further the distance there, so the Rocket Sim Sports team have done enough to get about a 1.1 second gap as it stands right now. But our lead team now out to a 10-second lead.
Yep, and that is impressive when you consider the field. That is a gap to have at this stage of the race. Luciano Whitbit will definitely be getting the foot down, looking for positions. There is Ben Crook for PLR Esports. As I've said, they've won races and taken a pole position. Sorry, they've won a race. Yeah, they have won a race. They've taken pole position in qualifying over the series. So it just goes to show you the strength of field and competition. They're currently out in 14th place, all over the back of Jimmy Lynn for the petrol aficionados. They, of course, picked up that drive-through penalty for being out of position at the start of the race. Got themselves involved in the battle for 8th before they made their way into the pits, and they now find themselves under pressure as Crook goes up the inside, out of the Coca-Cola curve. That Mercedes, great set of legs in a straight line, and Jimmy Linus, Ben Crook, has got the car beautifully planted absolutely in the middle of the road. He's going to have the prime line on the way into the Mercedes arena, and that is PLR. Oh, he almost gets a cut back there. That almost made contact on the corner exit. So Jimmy Lynn by no means considering himself out of this one, as he hangs right on Mercedes through the Mercedes arena. And this is a great battle. And again, George, this just again beautifully highlights exactly how much goes into actually winning a race, in any kind of racing at all. If you do make a mistake and end up further down the field and losing the points here and there, you find yourself battling. Balawender picks up the drive-through at the start, and he finds himself battling for 13th, or his team find themselves battling for 13th with one of the fastest cars in the competition. And there's a couple of drivers as well have been behind the David Hill BMW. Of course, we've seen Conrad Kula at the wheel of that thing. Not the fastest car in the competition, but the race IQ and racecraft cannot be denied. So yeah, the penalties really caught them. Yeah, because you mentioned as well, petrol aficionados had a great result last time out, and they now find themselves battling for 13th with PLR Esports.
Yeah, too right. It's very easy to do. I mean, Nurburgring really does punish you. You know, there's a lot of gravel around the circuit. There's a lot of runoff areas where you're full commitment towards the corner exit. And yeah, lots of places to make small mistakes. And those small mistakes really start to cost you. And same with the battles as well. You know, such a tight arena in some cases that we just saw. Crook and Lynn nearly come together at turn 1, even just in turn 1, where the racecraft is absolutely paramount into that first corner exit. You just end up in a situation very, very quickly where you end up in the back of another person's car, then you've got a penalty. Even on the start, where we saw Balawender pick up that drive-through, which was an absolute disaster for the start of the race, went from P4 all the way down to the back of the grid, and now desperately trying to fight back. But as I said, have got a very fast Mercedes driver in Crook to deal with down there. So, you know, maybe a bit of a home crowd advantage for the Mercedes and the BMW, but not really seeing that on track so far. But Hill has done a great job out in this first part of the second stint, and is holding onto the back of Dale in the 69 car just ahead. So these battles will continue to evolve. The real question, John, though, is in 15 minutes, who's got tyres and who doesn't? And I'm looking here just behind, because Stanto, who we know to be very, very quick in that Lamborghini, has been handed the car by Nurburgring and now has quite a lot of work to do after that bit of a 180 spin, as you mentioned, on the final corner just before the pit window opened for Nurburgring. So yeah, got a bit of work to do here, but still in the top 10. So, you know, it's a recoverable result at this stage, but 2 quick cars ahead to leapfrog past if they want to get a decent result out here today.
Yeah, definitely got the work cut out for him there, does Santo. I mean, 2 quick cars ahead. Yeah, it's easy saying to say the third driver in the equation is the best one position. It does often, then can depend, sorry, on the 2 drivers ahead, because Santo is coming up versus Dale and Hill in the Lambo and the BMW. So Hill's going to be sandwiched by Lambos. He's more than keeping pace with Dale at the minute, but Santo, the work he needs to get done is certainly going to be aided ever so slightly by these two, although Dale getting a good run through the Mercedes arena, a bit much inside curb for Hill. That's, oh no, he's got that recovered again ever so well, or ever so slightly there on the exit. Oh, does put it out on the curb in a little bit. There is, yeah, there's Santo. Oh, the camera running away. We've got Doc Richard back in the pit for the Panda Esports team in 15th place. Hopefully they can get back out.
Well, I was actually
and keep on running.
I was about to mention them actually, because when Loge went in, the pit stop time was 63 seconds. So I think that Lamborghini was not only having a driver swap, they were having some major repairs done to that car. And it looks like, whether they repaired it or not, I'm not 100% sure. If they didn't, they've obviously brought Richard back in and said, look, we've got to get it repaired, or that is another potential retirement from this race, which would be very sad to see for the First race in these two races in the finale here for the Panda Esports team.
Indeed, yeah, 2 races to go, and yeah, as many points as possible is what needs to be brought home at this phase in the competition. There's only one more crack of the whip after this one. This is race number 13 of 14. We're just watching the battle for the podium. Of course, the top 3 in this competition get themselves a place in the VCO Sim Grid final. The top 3 in GT3 cars, 4th and 5th in GT4 cars. Minute, it is looking very, very, very good for the Italian job up at the front. They've got a good gap back, 29 points, no less, to Thomas Eng Sim Racing. And between 1st and 9th is a 30-point gap. So as long as the Italian job can keep to within 9 positions of Thomas Eng, they will maintain the lead going into the final round. And at the moment, they're 4 places ahead. So it's certainly looking very good for the Italian job to be crowned champions. Thomas Eng looking good for second, because they too have got a big gap. They've got 54 points over Rocket Simsport, who've got 18 over VDES. So the 3rd and 4th place certainly hotly in contention. PLR Esports and Panda Esports are both battling with Tire Sim Racing to keep the car inside the top 8 and maintain that playoff position. Team Ballas, the team currently in 3rd position, are 9th in the championship. So getting this far ahead of Santo makes this a very, very interesting shootout for the final playoff place. As we can see, Rakhmatov just being overtaken there by Cassiaro. Was that, George?
I believe so, although I think actually Rakhmatov has been the one chasing down Cassiaro, and that's a big send into turn 1, way too deep for Rakhmatov there. That has not worked out for him. Cassiaro was popping it straight onto the defensive line and held it nicely, but Rakhmatov's been on an absolute charge, setting much faster lap times at the moment than Cassiaro. So there's new tyres on the, well, fresher tyres on Rakhmatov's McLaren in the Ford 10 car, just working their way to get closer and closer to Cassiaro, and Thomas Eng's team in the 121 car have got a bit of work to do here to keep that charging white McLaren behind them. Their gold McLaren has got a, yeah, like I said, bit of work to do in the remaining 14 minutes of this race through turn 8. They go now, and they will head down to, oh, sorry, turn 7. They go now down towards turn 8. Now, very tricky little corner, this one. Sort of multi-apex, John. It's you know, brake late into it, go a little bit deep into the corner, switch it up, hit the apex as much as possible, and line yourself up for the beautiful Schumacher S's, which, yeah, tricky on a good day, I would say. But, yeah, that was Rakhmatov catching up to the back of P4 and all over the back now of the Thomas Eng team.
In 10th place as well. Sorry, let's jump on board. I've been watching, yeah, I was watching that one as well, but in 10th place, Danny Santo. He has caught right up to the back of David Hill, so Hill not able to make an impression on Dale, beyond Dale in the Lambo, but certainly that's stopped Santo catching up to the back of Hill. Now, we've already seen Hill's car involved in some phenomenal defensive work to fend off the cars behind, but this Lambo is hunting him down at the moment. So Hill is going to be a long 13 minutes if he's going to keep that Lambo behind, and the Lambo behind needs the points. As I was just saying, this is an incredible battle for the final playoff place, and it is hanging in the balance because there is only 4 points between Tire Sim Racing and Team Ballas, and at the moment Tire Sim Racing are in 10th, Team Ballas are in 3rd. That will be a colossal swing in points, because 3rd place gets 92 and 9th place gets 73, so it's a 19-point difference effectively. This one position here is worth another 3 points to Santo. So yeah, Santo, if they've got any chance of making it into the playoffs, they need to reduce this deficit of points in this race, and then they need to finish ahead of Team Ballas in the final race.
Yeah, that's
Given the
right.
pace that Yehor Yuzetski's showing, though, that's a whole lot of tall orders there for Danny Santos.
Yeah, luckily though for the Tyre Sim Racing team, if they finish P10, they'll actually start race 2 in P1, so they're almost in the right position to set themselves up for that.
Oh, yeah.
But as you mentioned, the points deficit though, they'll have to have a P1 finish essentially in, well, as close to the top of the grid, top 3 hopefully for the team. So right as it stands right now, in race 2, Santo will be on pole position, Hill will be second for the BMW, Dale will be in P3. So this could potentially work out in Tyre Sim Sports' favour, but yeah, it's going to be, you're right, John, it's going to be a very, very close one for these two. I mean, that last spot there, it's all to play for.
Yeah, it really is, and I'm looking just further up the order as well. There's a couple of fairly decent gaps between some of the drivers, and a couple of gaps that can definitely be overturned. So we should get the results uploaded. Of course, they are all pending any potential stewarding inquiries. Haven't seen many of those. Certainly many instances. See Cody Cosworth for the Simply Race Esport runs ever so slightly deep there. Nico Veldman saw that one coming from about a week away there, but Cody Cosworth is looking very quick. Oh, and he's just about climbed into the back seat of that Audi out with the last chicane.
Yep, and at the same time, Santo has found his way past Hill in the first quarter. So he's absolutely centre and got it done beautifully. So unfortunately, we did miss that on the cameras. Our German camera crew not speaking particularly good English today, I suspect, and we're not speaking particularly good German. So got a little miscommunication there. But Santo moves up to P9 ahead of Hill, and now, as it stands, Hill and his BMW team will start in pole position of the next race, currently in the top 10. So beautiful move there from Santo. This is what they need to recoup those points. Starting in second place, not a bad thing at all in terms of race 2, but the points from race 1 will be absolutely worth taking. And looking around the field, Cassiaro and the Thomas Ennis team still under pressure. These two have been inseparable for the last few laps, but so far, Rakhmadov not found a way through. That's Dale. Dale's gone.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I'm just jumping on board a replay. So what I can see is Dale ahead of Santo, ahead of Hill. They come down into the embanked hairpin. They're heading up towards the Schumacher S's. Schumacher, oh, he's really on that the right curb on the way in, and he touched a bit of the gravel on the way out, and the Lamborghini went left, right, left, right, left. All the momentum was robbed in the kitty litter. And that is an unforced error there. I hate to say it, but beyond Dale, yeah, unforced error through the Schumacher S's. And this really does make this ever so slightly more interesting now. Every position that Danny Santo makes up, it brings him closer to his goal. He's got 8 minutes left. Is there any way he can catch up to Cody Cosworth for Simply Race? Now, we saw Cosworth run a bit deep into turn number 1. He's definitely got pace to get past Veldman. He just needs to find that overtake. Any more mistakes like we saw into turn 1 though, and he's going to find himself under all kinds of pressure from the driver behind. You can see there as they head down towards the hairpin once again. And hats off to Nico Veldman and that Audi. I've said they've been the car that really has brought the fight to the McLarens and the Lambos. They're doing it once again. Veldman and his teammate running in 6th place at the minute, but still got either a Lambo or a McLaren absolutely glued to the rear spoiler, as they have done for 90% of the race, much like David Hill's car. That BMW, the number 555, again has been under all kinds of pressure for the entire race. Oh, Rakhmatov got some airtime there. Sorry, I was on board with Rakhmatov as well. Just that exit curb of the the final chicane. He went over that little bit of sausage curb on the inside that's there specifically to stop you going over. Yep, there we go on the right, just that bit there, and yeah, he got some air time there. That made that interesting. Cassiaro fighting to hold on to second in the championship. Does look good to hold on to third. I say that, you still need to bring it home. There's a lot of points up for grabs if you don't. For your competitors, if you don't bring it home, 100 points for a race win may be offset if you get 93 for finishing in the top 10. But if you don't finish the race and you don't get any points, that 103 deficit is a 103-point deficit. Cody Cosford still in 7th position here at the minute, though. It's Velman that is coming under all kinds of pressure. Down the field, we'll keep an eye on this battle, but it is Piperetta for ITJ getting the job done once again. Whitfit and Yudzetski second and third. They're fairly well separated out at the moment. Cassiaro and Rakhmatov, 4th and 5th. So good drive there as well. The racing for Christian, I've still not got confirmation on what that is. I do think it, no, but I don't want to get that one wrong. There's Cassiaro, Thomas Enge. 4th place with Rakhmatov. Look how close these two are. Which battle do we even watch now? Probably Rakhmatov and Cassiero, I'm thinking.
Yep,
they are slightly further up the field, but yeah, talk to us, George. Cosford and Veldman close, Cassiero and Rakhmatov closer.
Yeah, well, this is the beautiful thing about finales, especially when you've had a really close championship. Every single battle, especially in the top 10, really does become quite significant. So, yeah, it is a bit of a commentator's dilemma, unfortunately. Cassiaro, of course, will continue to stay ahead of Rakhmatov, but Rakhmatov's very, very close, holds the inside line. Rakhmatov makes a big, big send onto the outside, tries to force the door to stay open, and does have the inside line here, so this could be it for Rakhmatov. Rakhmatov holds the inside line into T2, and we'll have it for T3 as well. That's a nice move there from Rakhmatov. They're still side by side, though, but as you can see there, Cassiaro just has to back off. He can't go side by side in that final quarter. That is track limits, though, for Rakhmatov. So he'll be racking up those track limit warnings, 3 of those, and another track limit warning. You will get a drive-through. Got to be careful of that. But Rakhmatov goes through up into P4. So Thomas Enge slips down into P5. It's not an ideal situation from them in their challenge back to the top of this field, but those fresher tires from Rakhmatov and the way he was throwing the car into the corners, no smooth driving there. He just wants to absolutely send it, fighting with the car controls, forcing that McLaren to do what he wants it to do, and it might cost him a bit of PSI, might cost him a bit of tyre draining, tyre life, but for Cassiaro, unfortunately, that tyre life has kind of already slipped away from him, it seems, in that car. So the white McLaren up ahead of the gold McLaren in the Thomas Enge Sim Racing Group, and they will have to begin their fight back, and maybe, just maybe, they've held on to enough tyres to make a bit of a pushback at Rakhmatov later on. But as you said, the battle also continues between Velban for Fast Forward Racing and Cosford, the number 2 Lamborghini. Both of these two been having a great little battle here. Yeah, previously driven by Klassen, the Lamborghini in the back there, the green and white Lamborghini. Has been really in a bit of a struggle this race, because they were right up the top. Oh, looks for the outside line. Well, he's got the outside line, now turns onto the inside line as they head towards the chicane. Turn 14, turn 15, brakes late, and gets the position on board at the perfect time, John.
He really does. Absolutely perfect timing there, George, and perfect timing for the overtake to get done. They've got less than 3.5 minutes left, and around this lengthy lap, that's only going to be a couple of quick goes around, and it's going to be the Lamborghini of Cody Cosford and the Simply Race esports team bringing home some very good points. Oh, and he's almost come a cropper there into turn number 1 again is Veldman. Certainly looking to keep Cosford firmly on his toes. They're racing through the Mercedes arena. Cosford has got the position. Oh, and that's a big run by Veldman. Up ahead still. I've been keeping an eye on Cassiaro, not losing too much time to Rakhmatov since that overtake, but not losing too much does still mean you are losing a bit. And Alessandro Cassiaro through the Schumacher race. Both of these drivers, absolute commitment through that Schumacher race. Those two McLarens still getting the job done, and it's the Audi and Nico Feldman.
Yeah, Veldman has
still
also...
bringing the... Sorry.
Oh no, I was just saying, because Veldman has also started to drop off, so those two cars, Cosford and Rakhmatov, have just started to take it and run with it, haven't they? They've really grabbed the ball and started to move up the track as much as possible. I do want to mention, John, and we haven't noticed this quite yet, but a note here for Whitworth. Look how close he is to the Italian Job Gold team. He's actually reduced the gap from 10 seconds after the pit stop to now 2.5 seconds. So if we look in the rear camera now, hopefully the broadcast team can do that for us. Yeah, there we go. You can see there's a Team Rocket car right behind the Italian Job car.
Wow, that is close. Yeah, well spotted. I didn't even clock that, actually. Yeah, the lap times again. With it, they're 4/10 quicker.
Yeah.
So yeah, really bringing the fight right down to the end. A minute and a half left to go. 2.3 seconds. Could get to within a second here if that last lap time is anything to go by. In fact, could get to within a bit closer than that if we've got more than one lap. This is the final lap though. Yeah, 1 minute 20 left on the clock, so this will be the final lap for the drivers. And Whitbit making it a grandstand finish, been laying down a marker for race number 2.
So John,
Zedski 2.2. Yes.
Yeah, quick question on this one, because we've got Team Rocket here. Team Rocket Sim Sports we're on board with right now. P2, we've got the Thomas Edison team at P5. There's not a massive difference now between... Oh, that was nearly very wide. The Schumacher S's, well held there by Whitworth. There's not going to be a massive difference between the Thomas Eng team, who are currently in P2 in the standings, and Rocket Sim Sports, who are currently P3 in the standings after a victory in race 2 at Valencia. So, yeah, this is rapidly becoming a 3-horse race here at the end in the standings.
Yeah, it really is. Yep, and that is well spotted. They did get themselves a good result last time out. And they find themselves in the hunt once again. Another great drive by both members of the team. It's going to find them on the podium. And yeah, Thomas Eng coming home in 5th position. I'm just very quickly trying to do some maths on that one as well. And there is confirmation. So the leader is on the final lap. He's lost 2/10 to Whitvet. So still at the 2-second mark, so Piperetta fighting straight back again. We're looking at Whitfit's going to get 97 points. Casiero is going to get 85. 12 points of a difference in the scoring potential at the minute.
Not as much as I was thinking, actually, and this is why I called you the International Man of Motorsport earlier on, because you're doing math on the fly while watching 2 screens of motorsport. So not something I can do, certainly not at this time of day. So there we go. There's the justification of it from earlier on. For those of you who weren't on board with us during the start of this race, of course, you are watching the sprint to the grand finals here at FRL, the Formula Racing League. And this is the last round. It's Nurburgring, as you can probably tell. And this is the finale of this round. The top 5 will go through, and then we'll have some shootouts for the remaining spots going to the VCO Grand Finals at the end of the year. So this has been a very, very, very fun race to watch. Lots of battles going on track. We are now at the end of the race for race 1. We do have another 60-minute race coming up for you right after this. The top 10 will be reversed, and Whitworth has got that gap down to 1.8 seconds now, John. So Whitworth's absolutely flying.
He absolutely is. He's putting in some very, very quick sector times at the moment. Sergio Piperetta is going to have a phenomenal view of that when he crosses the start-finish line and takes the checkered flag, but it will be Sergio Piperetta, the Italian Job Gold car. Once again, the gold standard in the race. A 7th race win from 13 races so far this series. They could go 8 from 16 and split it right down the middle. Whitbit split the difference right down the middle on that last lap. Got 2.6 to 1.3 seconds. The 2.6 only a couple of laps ago. This could be a very interesting race number 2, and it is going to be an interesting race for the final playoff spot as Yehor Yudzetsky brings Team Ballas across the line on the podium. Rakhmatov for VDES Juniors in fourth. Casiaro coming across the line in fifth position. McCory Cosford in sixth. There's Nico Veldman taking a checkered flag in seventh. Danny Santo in eighth place. It is an uphill battle. They've got to hold on to that final playoff spot now. David Hill in ninth, and Bjorn Dale rounding out the top 10. There's Blaze Mason for the Slovakian race esports team. Again, another team. They're 10th at the minute. They are within 13 points of Tire Sim Racing in 8th. So a couple of teams definitely still in the hunt for those final spots. So yeah, up at the top, it seems to almost be done and dusted. Please don't disappear before I can do that. There we go.
And
but yeah, the final spots.
Yeah, and I managed to click the wrong button on my stream as well, so apologies for that. This is not GT3 Nightclub like you just saw for a moment on your screens. My apologies there to everyone. We will continue with our sprint series to the grand finals, is what we're on board with right now, John.
It is indeed. Yes, it is indeed. You'll have to forgive George. It is first thing in the morning. We'll have some technical issues with my stream. So he has bravely thrown himself on that grenade. He is taking us through the coverage. And it is about to be the very final race. At the start, there's 7 rounds in total, 2 races per round, 14 hours of racing for the drivers to conquer, and that is 13 done and dusted. We'll have a quick break in the second race, or a quick break for the drivers at least. In the second race, we will see the top 10 from race 1 reversed. They will take the grid, and it will be exactly the same format. The drivers can swap over who takes the first stint and who takes the second. And has it just gone straight into... Oh no, there is a separate server for it, yes, because
There
we
is,
do,
yes.
as I say, reverse the top 10, and then it'll be another 1 hour race. We've seen both the Italian Job and Thomas Eng bring home back-to-back victories on the same evening. If the Italian Job do it tonight, it will give them an incredible 8 race wins, which will quite frankly dwarf the rest of the field. Thomas Eng have had 3 race wins, and then as George was mentioning in the opening, a couple of other teams with 1 race win each, so it has been a fairly dominant display for the Italian Job Gold team. Can they round it out with another race win? They're going to be starting in 10th, and maybe I'll just want to take it easy. Let's face it, all they need to do, if I'm not mistaken, and I don't think I am, all they need to do is finish this race, and it is top spot honours for the Italian Job Gold, and they will take their place in a GT3 car in the 3-round VCO SimGrid final. And it takes place in November and December, but 8th, 6th, 7th and 8th in the playoffs. That is some hotly contested positions, and in fact, 2SE, oh no, fast forward, the Audi, of course, they're on 894, 44 points ahead. Yeah, they just need to bring it home as well. But it is going to be some close points hauls to close out the season, and that was the wrong button, and that just closed. I'm having fun as well.
Oh, well, of course, it's a finale, and just the perfect time for technical issues to be hitting both sides of the commentary box. And of course, we've got our broadcast team on it, and we will be sorting out those issues. But hey, look, it is what it is. At least the racing today was absolutely superb out on track, and the championship is heating up at the end of the season, which is exactly what you want to see at the end of the day. And you're right. Once they get over to those grand finals and begin those qualifying events, crikey, it's going to be very, very close. The tippy top of the crop are going to be out there battling it out for the victory in the grand finals. And of course, as you said, they've got their GT3 class classifications pretty much all sorted at this stage. I'm actually I'm very impressed with the Italian job team. They've done incredibly well. They're running 2 cars in this championship, the gold and the silver. Gold team obviously leading us away in the championship as it stands right now. But yeah, lots and lots of pole positions, lots and lots of race wins. The most between any team, I believe. And yeah, unfortunately for Thomas Enge, not able to continue their run of good results. You know, they had a few really good starts at the beginning of the season, just sort of fallen away towards the end of the season, unfortunately. So some not ideal results in some of the races after some, you know, reasonably good qualifying results. But you know, if you can't make it happen in the race, then you're not going to be on that top spot at the end of the season, are you, John?
Yeah, no, exactly. Consistency, consistency, consistency. Be it on track or in the championships itself. And yeah, as you say, you need to be bringing home those race wins and finishing up the table as well. Yeah, Thomas Enge with those 2 finishes, 11th and 8th last week, have really put them under a little bit of pressure from the team behind. I'm just hovering over the SimGrid website to see if those results are uploaded before the start of the next race, which they should be. I think there is a couple of minutes. If you want to put the highlights on, George, I don't know, did you the highlights from race 1?
Yes, I should have the highlights. We're just currently looking at the grand finals information screen, so we've got all the races there as we would expect. Not the GT9 Night Club any longer, which is good. But yes, indeed, I can find the highlights there. So yeah, my apologies for that, of course, earlier on. A little bit of a how would we say it? We'd say it's a technical switch up earlier on, really, wasn't it?
Indeed, it is. Yes. No, go back one screen.
Yeah, no, I've just put it on the save menu, that's all. Yeah, get that thing saved. I do like to rewatch these races occasionally. So we'll put some highlights on for you folks while we wait for the next server to arrive. And John, I'm sure, will tell me as soon as that race server is available to us.
Yes, he will.
Yep, that's right. Good.
If you want to go and grab yourself a quick drink of that, George, because I know, again, it's like 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. So if you need to refresh yourself,
yes, well, I think I will.
Leave your ears from me. Yeah, leave the highlights run. Keep an eye on the server, which has just gone live. It's got 14 minutes of practice, so we've got plenty of time.
Brilliant.
To do that. But yeah, you go and get yourself sorted out, and I will keep the troops entertained.
Brilliant. The international man of motorsport here, kind with his coffee breaks as well, knowing that it is actually, I've been up since 5:30 a.m. It's now 8 a.m. and I do need a refill on my coffee. So, John, big thank you to you as always, and I'm sure you'll do excellently to entertain the troops in the meantime. By the way, to everyone in chat, thank you for joining us this morning. We do apologise for the technical glitches earlier on. We apologise for the technical glitches that happened moments ago. We'll be back on top of things momentarily, but enjoy the highlights with John for now, and we'll be back with race 2 soon.
Thank you very much, George. Yeah, phenomenal job. Yeah, so as he was saying there, yeah, my internet seemed a heart attack as the broadcast started. So we're through the broadcasting responsibilities over to New Zealand. George got it all working. Thankfully, absolute dedication to the cause. Of course, it's the final round. The racing so far has been absolutely incredible. 16 cars making their way to the final round. Of course, the overall competition, a lot of these teams do find themselves in multiple competitions to get their way into the final. And there is restrictions on the number of cars that teams can actually have in the final. They can only have one car in the GT3 classification and one car in the GT4, so the numbers do dwindle towards the end. And of course, the ADAC Sim Racing Expo 2023 takes place on the 12th and 13th of October in Dortmund, and the Professional Cup started this evening. So a fair few teams, I'd imagine, have chucked some resources in the way of the competition as well. Certainly no shortage of talent out on track for the race this evening. As we can see, the teams all making their way back in. Polovchuk, Malo, Veldman, Delfant, Ballowender. I do have confirmation as well, actually. I was talking about the racing for Christian. It is, yes, it's sad news. Christian Colagrosso, 19 years old, a sim racer with the Team Ballas Esports team, passed away. Unfortunately, the wider circumstances, I'm not 100% sure. There's no yeah, no full details, obviously. The family keeping it very close. So, of course, thoughts to the whole Team Ballas community and the family and friend Christian as well. Such a young age, but yeah, 2004 to 2023, and certainly there's been some of the LFM races. There's been quite a few of his teammates that have been driving with that logo in LFM have even put it on their the Race for Christian on to some of their posters and thing as well, to just to make people aware of the tragedy that the team has suffered. Again, 19 years old, so young, so young. But yeah, Team Ballas representing Christian Calagrosso with the plain black livery and the racing Christian on the livery, and I'm sure he would be unbelievably proud and absolutely buzzing ear to ear to see the results that he's seen from his team so far. But yeah, once again, thoughts go to the friends and family there. Yeah, so young. But this is the final round. It is the super sprint to the grand finals, the big finals taking place at the end of the year. 3-round endurance, November and December. Not that far away, certainly not as far away as you would thought. The winter does tend to creep up. One day it's sunny, the next day it's minus 700 degrees. Fun times. Yeah, so that is, yeah, November and December, the final round. So I'm completely losing my train of thought here. We've got Spa, we've had Spa, Imola, Bathurst, Kyalami, Silverstone and Valencia, and that's now a Nurburgring under our belts as well. The drivers will be straight back out. Most of them are already in the server, in fact. So let me just confirm that, and then we will do ourselves another 1 hour race again, the 10-minute pit window. The drivers and teams to come in and make those driver swaps. A lot of drivers staying out this time. We did see a bit of an undercut working for one of the teams in race number 1. Percent got into Soldi there. A lot of action going on in the highlights. This Ballamender that was in the background. This was, of course, the early battles after Ballaменder's car came out of the pits after serving a drive-through penalty. And yeah, Mike Pasenko got involved in that battle. That was, yeah, some good battling going on that we saw early doors.
Well, that's right. It was a brilliant battle, wasn't it?
We've got George back again.
We do. I've got a nice fresh pot of coffee, and I'm all ready to go as well. I'm sure the server is getting pretty lively as well. But these are brilliant little bits of racing here. And Tresoldi in that BMW, sorry, in the Mercedes AMG there, sorry, for PLR Esports, did a good job. Actually, really good fight back from his teammate as well later in the race. Overtook a couple of cars in quick succession, which was very, very good. So that Mercedes has got some pace on it. It really does, doesn't it?
Oh, it absolutely, definitely does. And despite the 1.9 update catching a lot of cars up with the ability to go over the curbs, the Mercedes is definitely a car that doesn't mind getting unsettled. As you can see, that overtake there made on Massimi into turn number 1, right on that inside curb. And I think we'll see right on the outside curb there. No worries whatsoever. Gets it hooked in again on the brakes while on the curb, and you don't quite see the exit there, but the exit curb to the Mercedes arena, that thing will unsettle a dumper truck. Right, quite frankly, you'll get you can get a construction equipment over there and it will get unsettled, but the Mercedes, No, 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 no. Absolutely planted at all points. So, yeah, a very popular. You used to be very popular, but if you can get that thing running, like you say, it will get the job done. And it sounds amazing as well, George. It is easily one of the best sounding cars in existence.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that. I mean, that V8 that it's got in there, the way that the sound percolates out of the exhaust on that car is just something else. I mean, ACC overall does an amazing job with the sounds for every single car, but the Mercedes definitely stands out as a particularly good one to listen to, especially with the onboards. You hear that low growl, that purr, the sort of, I was about to say Jaguar, but it's not a Jaguar. It's something else, like a lion or something, but it's purrs like nothing else. And yeah, as you said, eat the curbs like crazy, which is brilliant to see. Really handy for a track like this, because you're not going to be worrying too much about your PSIs like other cars would be, especially the MR class cars, which really do struggle with that on occasion. We did see the Lamborghinis have a bit of issues with their tires, possibly with the PSIs dropping off a little bit as well, hitting those curbs pretty hard. Turn 4 Schumacher S's amongst others, including the last couple of corners, the chicane turns 14 and 15, very, very tricky on the tires. And John, are we about ready to jump back in the server? Do let me know, and I will jump us back
5
over
minutes.
there. We've got 5 minutes. All we got, and that's the car of Dale in the background there. We just saw in the highlights when he went wide, as you said during the broadcast, left and right and left and right. Managed to keep it on the track though, which was, yeah, impressive is the word for that.
Ever so slightly. Ever so slightly. That is extra steering input all day long. That is, yeah, that's I even break into a sweat when I'm commentating, because I know what it takes to hold that type of. Well, no, I don't know what it takes to hold that type of wayward car. If it did, I would probably spend more time driving the things. But yeah, some great control being shown. Look at this again, side by side between Rakhmatov and Casiero. Rakhmatov applying the pressure, forcing the side by side, getting the job done. There's the Lamborghini, Cody Cosford. Getting some battling done with the Audi of Nico Veldman. Fast Forward Racing, another team that are looking to hang on to a playoff position. All these teams might be a bit spread out in points, but you need to be bringing home the bacon. You need to get the car home, and you need to make sure. Yeah, you just need to get to the end. Get to the end. Make sure you get points, because it's 70 points for finishing in the top 10, 103 for a win. And there's definitely less than 70 points separating some of these teams here. So you need to make sure that points are being brought home. I wonder what Tresoldi's going to do here in the Merc. That's an interesting one. Ellinger in the Audi as well. That is going to be close stuff. And actually in the practice just now that I'm looking at, a Gornikov is 2/10 quicker than Delphant and Santema.
That's right. Wow. So that's going to be really interesting. Ooh.
Yes, it is. That is going to be very, very close indeed. You were talking about Mercedes, and the track that we're at could not be more intertwined with that very car. As I mentioned at the start, 1907, the Kaiser Prix, which is the Kaiser's Grand Prix, held in Tunis back in 1907. As I said, 39 entries started the race. 25 of them made it to the end. 3 of the individual teams that were involved in the race were Team Daimler, Team Mercedes, and Team Benz. 3 completely separate entities. Not long after the race, Daimler Mercedes designed an engine after they joined together with Wilhelm Maybach, no less. He designed the engine which was designated the Mercedes 35 HP because of the raw, throbbing 35 horsepower that the monstrous machine had. One of the earliest production cars known way back when, 1908. That was when Daimler Mercedes merged with the Benz and Key company. That was in 1926, which was of course a year after the Nurburgring construction was started. That was September 27th, 1925. When the first stone was laid, and the first race was, of course, in 1927. So Mercedes very much intertwined with this course. And yeah, another interesting little fact: 2 years it took from 1925 to 1927 to build the Nurburgring. 2,500 workmen laboured to construct the circuit. Over 2 years. That is a lot of man, George.
That is quite the effort. I mean, that is a mega project, if I might say so myself. And yeah, crikey, that's a lot of man hours going into that. Because I mean, obviously worth it at the end of the day, because now we've been gifted with these amazing circuits. Not the only one here. There's 4 or 5 different configurations. Ooh, that's the 141 car getting a little bit sideways there. And by the way, I would like to echo my sympathies for the friends and family and teammates of the Ballas racing team, the Christian, of course. Very, very sad to hear. So just echoing my sympathies as well for the team, family, and friends. But yes, there are a number of different loops here. There's actually an endurance layout of the GP course as well that I think cuts over at about turn 3 or 4, cuts across the track, cuts out turns 6, 7, and 8. And just goes straight back in. Sometimes that's used with the Nordschleife as well. But of course, you've got the Nordschleife, you've got the Südschleife, the South Loop, which was there, not used to this day. There was a warm-up loop called the Zionsschleife, the Finnish loop, and then the Betonschleife as well, the concrete loop around the pit area. So this track has got it's got 112 years of history and 112 different layouts that you could possibly use as well. A personal favorite of mine, of course, is the Nordschleife loop. That thing, the Green Hell, as what was nicknamed by Jackie Stewart, it's just a mega track. It's just been added, in fact, to the GT World Challenge, the real World GT3 Challenge. And that may at some point make its way into the game as well, which would be absolutely mega to see. We are lining up now for the beginning of race 2, so we will take a little look through our grid as well, John, and see who's lining up where. Senatori, who came in P10 in the race, will line up in the top spot there, which is excellent news for them. And then after that, we do have Hill. So the BMW right on the top of the grid now for the Simply Race Esports team. Santo, after coming P8 in the race, will line up now in the 3rd spot. So that's a really good start, because in Rubia, we know how quick Rubia will be off the line and through hopefully the first few corners. Could be a really, really good start for that team. As you said, it's getting a little bit close for those top 5 positions.
Yeah, it really is, and it is Gornikov. There's Dominic Illinger for Fast Forward Racing, who is in 4th place. It's Cody Cosford, who looks like he's going to be leading the way for Simply Race in 5th for this one. Abe Santema is going to start for Thomas Enge in 6th place. Gornikov is leading the way for VDES Juniors. Pavlo Polovchuk, no, it's not, it's Yehor Yudzetsky leading the way for Team Ballas. And of course, Luciano Whitvet had such a strong end to race 1. He's going to start at race number 2. I was caught slightly unawares there by George, because we have the updated standings on SimGrid.
Oh, okay. Well, while we do our outlap, we need to keep an eye on that. So John,
yes, because we've had an interesting change of position. Team Ballas, who were in 9th place, now find themselves in 7th position. Panda Esport, ejected from the top 8, are now in 10th place after losing out 9th to Slovakian Race Esports in the Porsche. So Remy Losch's Porsche, whereas Lamborghini, Remy Losch in 15th position as well. So that 15th position in race 1, that has been massively costly. That is the Panda Esports team no longer in a playoff position. Team Ballas have made it up 2 places to get past Tire Sim Racing in the Lambo, and given the pace that they've shown, there's no reason to suspect that Polovchuk and Team Ballas won't finish on the podium again, and if they do, there is a possibility that they could overtake PLR Esports. They can't quite get past Dominic Illinger in the fast-forward Audi as long as Illinger finishes the race.
Oh, wow. That is a huge shake-up. You know, we may only have 15 cars at this end of the finale here, but that is a massive switch-up in the standings, John. Crikey.
That really is. Polovchuk and Yudzetsky, what a drive that was to bring it home on the podium. And yeah, get themselves, they were 2 positions shy of a spot in the playoffs. And they're now in by 12 points. They're 12 points ahead of Tire Sim Racing in that Lamborghini. And, well, yeah, but there's Nrubia.
Well,
Rubia's up in 3rd for this one.
exactly.
Go,
Well,
Georgie boy.
that's what I was going to say. I mean, this is all. I mean, it's all to play for between these 2 teams. I mean, yeah, the 141 car's got a lot of work to do, but we've got a couple of teams in there that we know that they're faster than. We've seen their pace. They were on the back of the Team Rocket car all the way through the end of the race. We know that they'll have pace. The mixed-up grid top 10 always makes things a little bit interesting at the top. So, yeah, and Rubia's going to have to get quickly past the BMW that Kula is sitting in right now, and Senatori as well, who will lead it away. We're coming down the back straight. John, this is going to be a fantastic hour of racing, not just on track with these drivers and all the overtakes they're going to be doing, but also the standings, and it really is all to play for here.
Yeah, it really is. The Mercedes that you were mentioning, PLR Esports, they're down in 13th position. They actually need to keep Remy Loesch behind them and make their way through the field. Blaise Mazian as well, the Slovakian race esports team. They're not far off. If they can cause Tire Sim Racing problems in the 2nd stint, they could find themselves actually potentially helping Team Ballas, if not helping themselves, to that final 8th place in Fast Forward Racing. Need to keep it running to the end. The Italian job are not quite home and dry.
No.
And they need to make sure the finish. If they end up 15th in this race, my calculator is going to melt.
Yep. Too right. Oh, well, we are now on the main pit straight. We are looking forward to an epic last hour of racing here in the Super Sprint Finals. We're green now on track. Senatori leads us away. The Ironix team, the BMW, having a good start as well. Might have a bit of a run up the outside. There's Iligno, who's had a brilliant start, and Ruby has already fallen a position on the outside. 3 wide into turn 1. Beautiful stuff, and Rubia gets the outside line. There's been contact in the back. There's been contact in the back there. Oh, dear. That is the 141 car. They've been knocked out already. That's contact. Oh dear, that's going to be a bit of a disaster for them. Here's the battle at the top. Senatori leads us away. The 555 car holds on to P2 position, and Rubio holds on to P3 just from Iligna as they go down through turn 4 for the first time for 60-minute racing in race 2. John, it's a good start. That for the 141 car, though, is a total disaster.
It is indeed. There was 4 wide on the exit. Oh, it is Luciano Whitvet was the car that made contact. There was 4 wide situation, and it's the Rocket Simsport car that made contact with the 141 of Yuzeski. I was just watching the replay here, and that puts Yuzeski. He's actually already right back on the back of the pack. It's Dominic Illinger on his way up into the Schumacher S. His first time asking in race number 2, and he is going to fire his way through there, and so is a Gornikov though in the background. Oh no, that's not Gornikov, he's already through, and in fact that is Luciano Whitvet who's got right back up. That is Abe Santema, who is in 6th position, coming under all kinds of pressure from Luciano Whitvet as they make their way into Advan Bogan for the first time of asking. It's Vincenzo Senatori leading the way. Conrad Kula looking very quick up at the top, and he's going to need it because so is Nrubia and Agornikov with all the pace in race number 1. Shown again. Oh, and Rubia having a big look up the inside. There's been contact. He's double contact.
Yeah, that is Senatori. He's been tapped on the rear by Kula. there for Simply Race Esports. He's been turned around at the last corner and will fall to the back of the field. That elevates from Ruby up to P2. Illigner still under a huge amount of pressure, and it's actually Ogrodnikov. Oh, another contact there. Big send by Nrubia. It doesn't quite work out. That's opened up a gap. BMW of the 555 car now running there, the outside line. Illigner goes through in the Audi. And we also had Ogrodnikov making a huge move there on the Thomas Enge McLaren. Simply the Team Rocket now also side by side with the Ogrodnikov. There's more contact between the BMW and the Thomas Enge team. He'll run wide, gets a bit launched there. Oh, contact again with the BMW.
Yeah, there is. I'm watching the replay and watching your screen then. So Nrubia did cause the contact initially with the BMW on the way in, and then it was Abe Santema and Ogrodnikov that made contact with one another. I'm now back live, and it's full slipstream engaged for Abe Santema. Ogrodnikov on Conrad Cooley. He's gone right up that inside line. There's going to be some penalties get handed out. That is for absolutely sure. Senatore and Iron Dames Lambo, what a guy. Says Smiley. He's found himself in the kitty litter a couple of times for this one. Eric Delfant, the Italian job car, currently in 8th position with Blaise Machin in 9th, and Balawender in 10th. Pazemko Yudzetsky in 12th place for Team Ballas. And what did I say just at the start? They need to finish in the top 10. And they've got Trizoldi, the PLR car, that needs to finish ahead of them, directly behind them. Delfante still looking to make up positions. It's Cody Cosford that he's got under pressure in 7th place. Into the final chicane. Look how much quicker Delfante is. And in the background, there's Blaise Machin just coming under pressure. Balawender making up for race 1 incidents in that drive-through. Already back up to 9th position for the Petrol aficionados. They're not wasting any time in this race. They're following Delfante through. Delfante into turn number 1. Still applying that pressure to the Lambo, and it's Conrad Kula once again going to be doing some serious defensive work if he's going to hang on to the 6th position, given the drivers that he's got behind him. In Rubia, it's going to be full defence engaged. In fact, no, it's not, because Dominic Illinger, bit of a cork in the bottle then in 2nd, but it is Abe Santema, George, for Thomas Eng. They are getting done what they need to get done. This is a podium position they're on, and they're coming to life in this race.
Yeah, we speculated that this is exactly the kind of result they're going to need. They're currently in P3. Looking on the back of the Audi, no way through in turn 8, but he's right on the back. They're separated by about 0.2 of a second, and that McLaren of Thomas Enge team looking absolutely fierce right now. What will Illigner be able to do in that Audi to hold off this charge? Probably not a lot at the end of the day, because that McLaren, like I said, looking absolutely lightning fast. Delfante's the Italian job gold team, still in 8th position, under charge though, under pressure from Balawender now. So those two now having a little bit of a battle, and Delfante is being held up a little bit by the Lamborghini of the number 2 car, driven by Cosford right now. So here goes Santema. Can he make something happen into the final couple of corners? No, rightly so, backs out of it, but forces the Audi offline. This could be very, very good for a run at the inside. Can he make it happen? No. But the Audi of Illigner holds off beautifully. They've got Ogrodnikov though in P4, steaming up the back though.
I was just watching that one. He's not so much sneaking at the minute. He's got himself hammering down that rear spoiler. He's just set the fastest lap of the race in the opening 3 laps. It's still incredibly close, even between 6th, 7th, 8th and 9th, as Kula Cosford, Delfante and Balawender are battling. We had Yudzetsky is in the worst position possible. He's behind Pasenko in 11th. He's got Trizoldi closing in. He's only saving grace is that Senatore is applying pressure to Trizoldi. Tire sim racing on the verge of losing a playoff space, and they're on you go, George. What is it we're looking at there?
Well,
that is Delfante, yeah,
Delfante, you're absolutely spot on though. Delfante managed to make the move happen on the number 2 Lamborghini, but a lot of scraping shields, scraping paint off each other as they went through the first few corners. and Bellowender actually makes it up ahead of Cosford as well. So Cosford lost a couple of position margin now in it as well. But you're absolutely spot on, mate. It's switching round at lightning pace. My timing sheets are going from green to red to blue at a pace that I cannot keep up with. Santima and Oroknikov still at each other's throats right now. Iligna, the plug in this bath, keeping them in the battle, but that is Team Rocket on the back of this. This has turned in from a two-horse race into a three-horse race, now into a four-horse race between the top 4 or top 5 fighting for that P2 position. And Rubia, by the way, running away with things at the moment, got a 1.3 second lead out the front. That is great news for the entire Sim Sports Racing team. What a position to be in for the 134 car.
Oh, it really is. I was just watching. That was one of the cars that was mentioned. Of course, they're looking to hang on to that 8th place to get the podium spot. This win here puts big points between them and their competitors and brings them right back in the hunt. I don't think they're quite going to get a top 5. I was watching the battle there. That was some phenomenal driving through the Mercedes Arena on the last lap between Delphant, Ballawender and Cosford. It's Delphant, who is leading the way there, right in the background there. That is Blaze Mason and Make Pasemko getting involved, and Yihor Yudzetsky, the Team Ballast driver, who's more used to being on the podium under these conditions. Oh, and that's a mistake by Pasemko. He's opened the door up, he's turned back in. They've made a bit of contact there. Yudzetsky hasn't taken any advantage from that, and he has exited. Pasemko's maintained that position. Oh, Santema in 3rd place is all over the back of Illinger still, and in fact down towards the embanked hairpin. This is going to be an interesting one on the brakes, and I was not wrong. Look how close he's just got to that. I tell you, oh, look at the lateral back of the McLaren there. Santema for Thomas Edge, really struggling to get the power down there on exit, bit of backwash from the slipstream in the car ahead. It's not always good to be in the slipstream. Everyone think, oh, slipstream. It means you've got very little aerodynamic grip on the front of the car, so your tyres are doing all the work. Do you really want that to be the case for a 35-minute stint? Probably
really.
Not, especially if you're in a Ferrari.
No, that's correct.
Yeah, the tyres don't last well.
No, and even a McLaren, which is so aero dependent, we've seen it before. You know, you get a little bit of damage on that McLaren anywhere around the bodywork, and you are going to be having issues. Look at the full send from the Audi in front. We're on board at the moment with Santima, and I have to admit, Iligna is doing a beautiful job to hold off these McLarens behind, and actually is catching up with the Lamborghini of Mrubia. I do wonder if Mrubia is maybe starting to suffer on those tyres, but beautiful job from Iligna.
Gornikov into turn 1, 4th place going for 3rd into turn 1. He's absolutely about to send this one.
Whoa!
Oh no, he's not.
Oh, he has.
He should have sent it.
Yeah, he has though. So Oroknikov actually made contact with Santima. Santima was pushed into Iligna, and Iligna is now spun at turn 1. That has gone from a beautiful, beautiful defense into a bit of a disaster there, and that is squarely Oroknikov's fault. He's tried it again, and he's gone and run really, really wide, completely off the track there. That'll be track limits as well for Oroknikov. He's, oh, so keen and sends the car to space as well, for good measure.
Wow, that is an absolute cacophony of a cluster. Shouldn't maybe finish that one. But yeah, certainly Gornikov looking racy.
Yeah, feisty.
I think politically correct.
We've got a replay of this, so just down into turn 1 here. We're just going to keep on. We'll keep an eye on the happenings in the main race, but keep an eye on this because, as John rightly pointed out, Oroknikov goes for a bit of a send, tries to switch back to the inside. It's not there. He's outbraked himself, and he's tapped the back of the 2 cars, and then we happen to go into another bit of contact. So another replay here, because as he goes through there, makes the contact, comes through. There's Team Rocket there now in the background. And what happens to Oroknikov here? Did he run into the back of a car and just loses the rear end? I think he might just lose the rear end here and ends up off the track. Or is it contact from behind? It is. So Team Rocket have actually made contact with Oroknikov and sent him round at turn 3 as well. Crikey, what a series of corners. By the way, look at this, because Delphant now at the inside of that BMW makes the move in turn 14. Beautiful send there from Delphante and brings his Italian job team back into contention, now from the top 5. And he's got Whitworth ahead in that Team Rocket McLaren and is chasing them down at a pace of knots.
Overtake Cody Cosford, 8th place.
Oh, beautiful.
I was just about to sing the praises of Philip Ballawender getting himself involved in his battle. Cody Cosford out of the last chicane gets in and out of the Coca-Cola curve a lot quicker than the McLaren. Blaze Mason could be about to gazump them both into turn number 1. Mason was the third driver in that equation, getting all the slipstream into turn number 1. Cody Cosford chases the way out, so he got the overtake done. Ballawender on a great drive so far. Cosford taking back positions. Blaze Mason in the Porsche. Still very much getting involved all the while. And Rubia getting the job done. Yudzewski in 12th position at the minute. And I was mentioning this in race number 1, George, how with motor racing, you get involved in a little incident, get a little penalty, and you find yourself further down the grid, but stuck behind drivers that are just as quicker or battling away. We've got Yihor Yudzewski for the Team Bala sitting in 12th position with a solid train of cars ahead. This is looking like an uphill battle for them to bring home, but they should still hang on to a playoff position, but it's going to be squeaky bum time, I believe Alex Ferguson would say.
Yep, very technical term, that one as well. Pasemko just got a bad exit, threw it into the Schumacher S's. Yeah. But nonetheless, that brings Duvetsky back into it. Another bad exit there through turn 9. That's not going to be ideal for him down the back straight. And the 141 car will have a decent run here. Will it be the inside? Will it be the outside? We will see. It'll be the outside line, not the ideal into turn 14, turn 15. Who's going to brake later? Oh, wow. Pasemko backs right out of it, nearly runs wide through turn 15, does the 141 car we're on board with now, but beautifully held there, takes the position up into P11, and the fight back begins. But you're right, there's another 6 cars directly ahead of him that he's got to make some waves on. And by the way, up here for P3 position, Olgarodnikov is now under a lot of pressure. Whitwood tries the move, but actually opens it up for Delfante, who goes on through.
Oh, beautiful driving by Delfani. And that, viewers and race fans, is why the Italian job car is leading the championship, quite frankly. That is what championship leaders do. They eye up their territory, they mark out a place for battle, and if an opportunity presents itself at the very last second, bang, they pounce. I need to get a better clapping sound effect, but that was phenomenal stuff. I've actually jumped back on to a replay because I'm going to enjoy this one myself. Wow, the commitment on Delfante steering through that final chicane is absolutely incredible. He just nudges the curb on the exit to the Coca-Cola along the start-finish straight. He is getting afforded double slipstream. What I'm watching, speaking of double slipstream, did someone call Ballawender? I think so. Cosford has just overtaken. Oh, look at that move. Absolutely beautifully done. And you had the other two all at sea. Those two, in fact, I would say Gornikov actually cost himself a bit of time there going side by side into turn number 1, and Delfant, yeah, absolutely pouncing. But we're on board with Cody Cosford, Gornikov, sorry, who's watching the battle unfold behind him. I'm going to keep a weather eye. In fact, if we'll have a look down at 8th place, I believe Ballawender is applying the same amount of pressure. Oh, look how close he got to that BMW. The BMW we know is fairly outperformed at most of these tracks, but the hands of a driver like Konrad Kula, all things are entirely possible. Ballawender and Mason are the drivers looking to take that position, and Illinger as well, the Audi that could, oh, he could go up the inside and he could take a position here from Blaze Mason, who's been caught napping into turn 1 and into the Mercedes arena. Oh, the Porsche's held right back onto that again. Illinger involved in more battling. He spent more time in race number 1, George, with drivers behind him, but it's now his turn to apply that pressure, and he is letting the Porsche know that he is there and means business.
Yeah, spot on. I mean, Illinger has just been showing us a masterclass in race performance at this stage. Really gutting for him to be dropped back, because he was in P2 and holding off the likes of Santima, which is amazing to see. By the way, the 555 car Kula has just gotten a 15-second penalty for causing a collision. That'll be the one that took out Centauri earlier on in this race. So that is close again. 15 seconds for Ballawender. Ballawender for contact as well. So Ballowender, both of these cars now, 15-second penalty. And with this field, look at the field, it's so close. Right to the back of the field, we've probably only got about 15 seconds separating the field as it is at this stage. Those 15-second penalties is going to drop them down to the back of the grid. Very, very costly for Ballowender, the 67 car, and Kula in the 555 car. They're still going at it. Mastin's in it. Illigner's still making progress. And there, by the way, is Zudvetsky in the 141 car, racing for Christian and bringing it back into things. Currently looking to get back into the top 10.
He is indeed, and what a drive. You definitely wouldn't put it past him. The Team Ballast car was saw in race number 1 taking that podium. Not the best start to race number 2, but they're bringing the hunt. I did say it was going to be a tough battle, making their way through this battling pack. The way they're battling is all it's going to do is bring us a whole lot more entertainment. Conrad Kula and Philip Ballowender.
Sorry to interrupt, but Delfante's just tried to make a send on Ogoroknikov and make contact on the apex, and will still try to stick around the outside of turn 3. Ogoroknikov not giving him any space. Elbows are out right now between these two cars. That is some hard racing.
That is some firm racing right there. The stewards sharpening their pencil, hitting the replay button. They'll have a look at that while we watch the live action that's going on in the background, as that is Yudzetsky going side by side. What a battle this is. Yudzetsky got the Porsche around the outside. Ballowender and Kula both got those penalties, but they're going to fight off the positions. Ballowender and Yudzetsky making position. Pazemko is closing in on this one in the background as Illinger now finds himself down 2 positions. Sorry, down 2 positions as Mazin and Yudzetsky are both through. Mazin and Yudzetsky taking that inside line through the hairpin. There is Make Pasemko in 12th place, lurking right behind this battle as the Audi looks to retake the position potentially from the Porsche. Not going to happen as the Porsche is all up in the slipstream of the Team Ballast car. We were just saying the Team Ballast car saying great things about them, and that's why just made up 2 positions, and the 2 drivers ahead, 2 teams ahead, have got those penalties. Up at the front though in 4th place, Eric Delfant, Gornikov and Santema. Not so much Santema, sorry. Oh, and in fact no, Santema's right on the back of Nrubia, while Gornikov, Delfante and Whitvet are having themselves an absolutely incredible battle for the final 2 podium. The final podium position. That is a lot of pace, unsurprisingly, being shown by Santema up at the front, and Ruby's got the fastest lap so far, but I don't think Gabe Santema's quite got that memo at the minute, George. This is game on for the race 1.
Game on indeed. There's 3 distinct battle packs that have opened up now. We're just looking at the top battle for P1 between Ruby and Santema. We look back, and now here's the battle for that P3 position. Ogoroknikov in the 410 car, currently holding on to that nicely, but Delfant for Italian Job Gold is right on the back and has been for the last couple of laps. Whitford here for Rocket Simsport is also right in this battle, as is, and in a way, not surprisingly so, it is the number 2 car of Cosford, who's held onto this battle pack very, very nicely. Cosford is the one that the 141 car for Ballast Esports will need to be looking to get ahead after those 15-second penalties for P7, P8 are served. So Zudovetsky and his team are now technically up into a net P7, and we'll have to find a way to get through. And that's Ballowender going for it as well. This battle's not cooling down at all. I think if Zudovetsky can get through on these 2 cars, he is in a fantastic position to hunt down the Lamborghini of Cosford and the number 2 car, and will be in a fantastic position to fight for that. Ballowender gets a bad run through the Schumacher S's there, and through on the outside. What a move, he runs wide. Zudovetsky's throwing the kitchen sink and everything.
Oh wow, he really is. That is incredible driving.
Ogoroknikov has fallen down. He's in P7. Something has happened to Ogoroknikov there.
Oh yes, it has. Let me just jump back on. I'll get a quick replay action of that one. It looks like he's battling with Delfant. Yeah, so I'm running. Oh yeah, we can't see the screen share of the fine, but yeah, let me talk through that as you guys and gals keep watching the action. So down into the hairpin. It's a nice clean lead. Delfant gets a very good exit as they head up towards the Schumacher S at this point. Gornikov still firmly in the lead through the Schumacher S, makes his entrance. The car absolutely planted all the way through. Oh, there's been contact. That looks like a Gornikov. No, that's Yudzetsky. Ballowender I
Oh
know it's
dear.
Juzeski and Konrad Kula.
That's right.
Only just lost the back of it, completely
I think there
Okay,
was,
so, yeah.
I think there was
On you
some
go.
contact there. Sorry, yeah, Zudovensky there. Ogorodnikov made the move on Kula, forced him wide, and then Zudovensky, who's been tossing the kitchen sink at this race and at the overtakes, tried to send it as well. Didn't quite work. Hit the brakes into the apex, but Kula was already closing the door, and they just came together. Maybe a racing incident there, but Zudovensky, that was very, very opportunistic from him. Crikey, John, can you tell us more from the replays?
Yeah, I'm trying to have a fire through the replays now to see exactly what I can get. The original mistake by Gornikov was simply a mistake by Gornikov. That was the problem that he had. He spun the car himself initially, was his bottom right back into the pack. Then there was some action went on behind him, and the contact that we then saw on your screen. I am just looking at this because it is Juzeski that is behind him at the minute. On my screen as well, in the replay, Balawender is there, so is Dominic Illinger, and so is Remy Loos. Remy Loos for Panda Esports. They were ejected from the playoff positions by the results from race number 1. Could race number 2 see them retake 8th position and get that final playoff spot? It is a massive possibility with everything that's got going on, especially with Nrubia and Santema leading the way. Kornikov down in 6th and Juzeski in 7th position. But yeah, whatever, there must have been a crossover with the replays that I managed to jump on. And I didn't quite catch what happened with the second one. Juzeski, though, still in 7th position. Balawender, Petrol Aficionados in 8th. Dominic Illinger still running in the Audi in with Loesch, Pasemko and Mason knocking on his rear spoiler. And it is Nrubia still leading the way from Abe Santema up at the front of the field. The two of them, and there is Eric Delfant really finding his pace there in 3rd as he sets the fastest lap, 1 minute 53.277.
The charge has begun for the 179 car. It has begun. He's got clean air in front of him now, John. It's nothing stopping him. He's got the Rocket Sim Sports car in tow as well, but if Delfante can hold on to this kind of pace, he is closing up at a rate of knots. The gap now down to 6.4 seconds, was up at about 7.5. So he's almost cut a second off the gap to those top 2. Santema's going to need to start making a bit of moves here if he wants to get into that P1 position and get that clean air to get a good run away from things. But Nrubia, mate, done a great job so far to hold on to P1.
Absolutely phenomenal drive, and it's not massively unexpected, to be honest. I've seen the Tire Sim Racing Lamborghini in quite a few events. They've done really well. As I was saying in the opening, they're in the top 8. They've got 3 7ths. Over half the results have been inside the top 10, and they've been on the podium as well. If it wasn't for one DNF, they could find themselves knocking heavily on the rear spoiler of the Fast Forward Sim Racing Audi in 5th, and that is, of course, the final automatic spot. So they will definitely be contenders when the finals. And we're seeing mega attempts at undercuts, George, as Juzeski instantly into the pits, less than 20 seconds into the pit window, and race 1 podium sirs are in the pits. Trizoldi and Konrad Kula joining them in the pits as well. So the drivers from right up through the field, in fact. Trizoldi and Kula starting up at the front, Juzeski down, but some early pit stops as the top 2 battle on.
Big news here as well. We've got Witvoet with that contact that took out Ogorodnikov has picked up a 10-second penalty, and Ogorodnikov has picked up a 15-second. So this undercut here from Zudovensky could become one of the most powerful strategic moves that we've seen in this race so far, or these 2 races so far, because the undercut is strong. He's got, he had a car ahead of him, and Balawender was just behind him with 15 seconds penalty. Now he's got 2 cars that would have been ahead of him with a 15-second and a 10-second, and the closest to the field at the moment, that could potentially put that car up into a P4 or P5 position in this race. John, this is all about to start switching over. We're 2 minutes into the pit window. They've got another what, 7 minutes to go in the pit window to get their cars in, get the drivers switched out. All eyes for me are now going to be on Zudovetsky and the 141 car.
Yeah, absolutely, 1,000,000%. It's Pavlo Polovchik that's come back out for the Team Ballast car, and as you were saying there, the cars ahead picking up some fairly sizable penalties, and that is one of the largest penalties that can be received. It's David Hill has picked up a drive-through penalty for speeding in the pit lane, and not only that, that's Luciano Whitvet that's just gone past, so he's a lap down at the minute on fourth. Of course, he'll get a lap back, or would have got that lap back when Whitvet comes into the pits. Dominic Illinger coming in for the Fast Forward Racing team. Again, they're looking to hang on to that final automatic spot. They do look good to do so. They need to finish the race and make sure the finish. Oh, actually, they don't need to finish too many points ahead of PLR Esport. They've got a big gap, but as long as they bring this one home, they should be okay, and they don't have a penalty at the minute. As long as they can keep penalty free, yeah, they should be okay. But yeah, oh, that's clumsy.
Yep.
That's Senatori and Machin there.
That is right, and Senatori managed to get spun out there ever so slightly, displaying another good bit of car control to keep it on the track, because that can be a bit of a disaster. Polovachok now goes through and actually gets out ahead of Illigner. That is reasonably significant. That's very, very good signs for the 141 car. This undercut, they've got to make this work. They've got to make this work. They've got to put in some great outlaps. That looks like a pretty decent outlap to me, but these next few laps are going to be absolutely critical as that pit window starts to tick down and begins to close in about 6.5 minutes time. By the way, at the top of the grid, then Rubia is now under even more pressure for Santima. Santima's still not being able to get through, but the gap has come down and now within 0.5 of a second. The gap back to Del Fente was 6.5 seconds, now 5 seconds, so another 1.5 seconds being taken out by Del Fente to these top two, John.
Yeah, indeed, and I was looking at a replay there, the contact between Majin and Senatori. It was through a few corners. The two of them successfully went side by side, and certainly the final contact definitely looked a lot worse than it was. The Lambo actually made contact with the back of the Porsche, and then made contact with the front of the Porsche, which straightened the Porsche up and sent the Lambo off into the Shadow Realm. So that is how Senatori ended up with such a big gap to Mason, and in fact ended up with Pasemko between them, the absolute car. In the pits with a fair bit of damage. You can see Cody Cosford.
Yeah.
Oh. Wow, that is Cody Cosford taking a bit of contact there from Igor Agornikov, and he is certainly keen, Agornikov, in this one. Which does seem strange considering the position they're in, because they're fourth in the championship. They are almost 30 points behind Rocket Simsport, which means they need to finish several positions. 30 points, yeah, they need to finish. Yeah, they need somebody to finish outside the top 10.
Yeah, which with a 15
before it's going to make
penalty,
the slightest bit of difference. Yeah,
too right. Santima for Thomas Enge comes into the pits. Ogoroknikov there with a 15-second penalty already, and now that contact with Cosford, I think that's going to be another slap on the wrist from the stewards. So unfortunately, he's not doing himself any favors here. He just needs to be a bit more patient, I think, in this humble commentator's opinion, with that. Otherwise, he's going to end up in a potentially nasty situation. If they, as you said, finish outside that top 10, there could be a bit of trouble for them. But we'll see what happens later on. That's Santima into the pits. Delfant goes through, and Rubia will remain in the lead of this race. 4 minutes left in the pit window before they all need to come in and serve their mandatory pit stops, get the driver swaps out. And that's also Orognikov as well, has come into the pits, as well as Marsgen and Senatori after that little battle and spat on track.
Yeah, indeed, there's been battles and spats all the way through, and the final points tallies could certainly be made that little bit more interesting. Abe Santema into the pits along with Gornikov. In fact, that's a Gornikov's car on the way out. In fact, oh no, it's not. Gornikov's still stationary. Cassiaro is on his way out for Thomas Enge. Luciano Wivet and Balawender still with the penalties. That's a Gornikov penalty gone. The drivers, engineers will now be free to start that work. Remy Loesch up to 6th position. Oh, what's Panda Esports got under the hood in the closing stages? Going to need some big laps themselves, but anything is possible. Hopefully we get the update on the final standings pretty quickly after the race. And Rubia is still out, Delfani still out in second, 5th place. Balawender then for the petrol aficionados, another car that's been up and down the order. We've got 2 minutes 30 left of the pit window, so it's either this lap or very quickly on the next one. Massimi out for Absolute Motorsport. Asilith taking over from Pasenko. And there is Delfante, who stays out for another lap with only 2:20 left on the clock. Race leader in Rubia, our long-time race leader in Rubia, comes in for Tire Sim Racing. Whitvet stays out, carrying that penalty on for another lap. Balawender staying out for another lap as well. Remy Loesch has stayed out also. And Eric Delfant will be the next driver into the pits. Because he is now comfortably leading the way with the rest of the main podium protagonists all making their way in for the mandatory pit stop. Whitfit and Balawender, that is going to be an absolute eternity for them, George. 10 and 15 seconds in a field this close. That's not the type of extra pressure you need as the driver taking over.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And you know when you're sitting in those pits, all that time is being eaten up. So, interestingly, Loesch is...
Cassiaro.
And has been basically within that 10 seconds as well. So he'll probably get ahead, Will Loesch, potentially, of Whitworth and Balawender. We'll have to keep an eye and see. You have Cassiaro now on the back of Rubia. So the battle for P1 has resumed in the order that it started with before the pits were taken by these two cars. And the gap is just as close as it was at this stage, which is fantastic to see. 4 cars still to pit, John.
Indeed, yeah, 4 cars still to pit with 50 seconds left of the pit window. Eric Delfant on track, race leader and fastest car out there at the minute with the 153.2. Does come shooting straight into the pits. It's going to be Whitfit, Balawender and Loesch that follow him in very quickly, in very short order. In fact, there comes Loesch. Comes in. Whitvet in ahead, and Balawender should already be in. Yes, Balawender is on the pit entrance. As we can see, these two coming towards the final sector. The race leaders then, before they came into the pits, are they still the race leaders on the way out? Cassiero certainly looking to get the overall race lead as they head down towards Advan Bogan. It's 18 laps into the final race of the Super Sprint to the grand finals, and again 2 races on a row we've seen 4 cars in the pit as the pit window closes. That's how late they've run it. Not something we've seen often this series. Into the final corner, it is Lambo versus McLaren versus pit engineers. Delfante, Whitvet, Balawender and Loesch all very much stationary. Here comes Danny Santo and Simone Alessandro Cassiaro for Thomas N Sim Racing across the start finish line. There is Sergio Piperata out of the pits. Whitvet still stationary. That penalty, Balawender still stationary. And here comes Remy Loesch. Sorry, here comes Doc Richard. Not too far behind a recently moving Luciano Whitvet. But the Audi of Veldman, I believe, has got through. Yeah, Veldman up to 7. And we've got more penalties coming in. It's Eric Delfant causing a collision. So on track.
Oh, that time
race leader.
All sorts of... No, he's... No, he's actually in P3. Sorry, the tower timing sheet there is actually completely screwed up. Delphant is in P3 at the moment, 6 seconds down with the penalty. Now Balawenda getting a penalty as well. Balawenda is actually down towards the back of the grid already for some reason or
Remy
another.
Loge.
So Remy Loge there. Oh dear, that's
Doc Richard,
a
Panda
disaster.
Esports.
Oh dear.
Yes,
that is
it
a disaster. Yeah. So the winner in all of this is actually Polovichuk, the 141 car, now up to P4, 7 seconds behind Piparapa. Now it's in the 179 car. He's got a 5-second penalty. So if he can close up this gap here, this could be a podium position. Another one.
Really good.
I mean, it's astonishing stuff. We've got the Delphant, previously for the Italian job car, we've got the Delphanta here. Now Sergio Piparapa coming into the car. The 5-second penalty there is going to hurt them. I'm not sure if we've got as much pace with Piparapa as we saw with Delphant. Obviously, they're both incredibly fast in the car, and the car's set up to absolute perfection. But the question is, will Polovichuk have the pace to get up ahead? And I think at this stage, I've already seen 0.5 of a second get cut off between those two. I'm going to keep an eye on their last lap times. After we get the outlap done by Piparata, which has just been finished now. This is really, really heating up.
It is indeed, and I'll tell you, we've got two teammates that are about to go to war as well. We'll see how this one plays out between Rafael Malo and Martin Klassen. Now I know one of them is Simply Race. Well, yeah, they're both Simply Race. And it is Malo that's in 6th position at the minute. Klassen is in 5th place. And for the Simply Race cars, that McLaren doesn't massively need the points at this stage. The Lambo could definitely do with a few extra points. They're in 13th and on 722. We've got a couple of teams ahead of them that aren't racing. Petrol aficionados are ahead of them as well, though. So Balawender and the gang could still finish ahead, but that is still going to be... there's still going to be championship changes right at the head.
Yep,
things
get
are
that
standing,
calculator ready.
Yep,
Yeah,
5th and 6th.
Get the water cooler out for your calculator, because we are going to be looking at that in detail after this race and trying to figure out, before the official results come in, who's actually taking it and who get those spots. Because, I mean, you know, you don't always expect this towards the end of a finale. I mean, yeah, but it's been close all season. It's switched up in the last couple of rounds. So Valencia and Nurburgring really throwing a spanner into the 747 or 787 jet engine that is the championship and providing us with a fantastic end to the series.
Well, it really has. A fantastic end for us. I don't imagine it's a fantastic end for some of the drivers sat behind the wheel trying to figure out exactly what is going on.
Very true, very true. But that's what sim racing is all about, mate. It's all about how much sweat you put into your sim rig, right?
Oh, 100%. That's why I've got a quilt cover on my sim seat. Summer quilt cover, just for anybody that wants to know if you want to keep cool in the summer or warm in the winter, throw a quilt cover over your sim rig seat. It works. Not the quilt itself, just a quilt cover. You'll be absolutely golden, I can assure you. As we're watching the Golden 2 lead the way up at the front, Malo still keeping his teammate Klassen. Yeah, keeping him on point there is Zupanchik and Kruk actually 10th and 11th. Well spotted there by George. Those two still battling at the Porsche and the Mercedes. The two outliers, it does seem fitting that these two are battling. Most definitely not middle engine rear wheel drive cars, these two. Not many other cars on track can say this, apart from, of course, the BMW is now sitting right at the back of the field. But Zupanchik looking to make an improvement on the position on Kruk. And again, this will have ramifications in the championship. The Porsche at the minute of the Slovakian racing team is currently sitting in 9th place with PLR in 6th. If they can get ahead, it doesn't make much difference to PLR, but it certainly does to Slovakian racing, who are trying to catch up to Team Ballas ahead of them. But that is going to be an even bigger ask after Polovchik and the gang have pulled off an absolute worldie of a comeback.
Both of them will
to get themselves back up in the top 5.
Yeah, both of them will get elevated a position when Richard in the 159 car serves that 15 seconds at the end of the race. 18 or just under 19 minutes left to go now. And that is Rakhmatov there, so trying to make back some positions here. He'll get elevated up into P11 based on Richard's penalty at this stage of the race. And by the way, more big news because, oh, that's a huge incident there. Oh, look at that car. Massimi's had a huge issue and has actually held up Crook as well into the last corner. Oh dear, Ferrari, damage, very, very damaged in fact.
Yeah, I'm jumping on. I've got a replay running here. Let me just see what happened. So down through, is that Ad Van Bogen? Yes, it is. So Ad Van Bogen, no other cars nearby. I get the feeling that this is contact with the pit entry wall. Oh, on the way in. So on the way into the final chicane, the back of the car just lifted. So where did the damage come from?
Oh, and big contact. Oh no, Massimi's closed the door on Crook, and Crook has gone round at turn 4 there, sorry. And that has been disaster. So Crook was trying desperately to get past the slow Ferrari ahead. And the slow Ferrari ahead, unfortunately, has closed that door. And they have made contact. By the way, this battle is getting crazy because Zupancic, who's just been elevated up ahead of the Mercedes that was, well, you know, looking really, really stable ahead, has just been given a 10-second penalty. So this battle's all to play for. Rakhmatov's just gone through and said, thank you very much. See you later.
Wow, and it was so important for the Slovakian racing team to finish ahead of the car that's just gone through. And to get those points back. Yeah, sorry, the car has just gone through Rakhmatov. Let me word that better. But Paul Lovchuk has done exactly what Team Bal has done. That fourth position now looks like it's going to get them that position nice and securely is across the line because of the positions that are now changing in the background with Zupancic, is Massini and Ben Crook, Bjorn Dale down in 13th, the Petrol Aficionados, and of course Simply Race Esports now all well and truly out of the hunt. But it is Simone Alessandro Cassiaro looking to break the win rate dominance of the Italian job, who of course are on for 8 wins. If they can win this one, it does look like a bit of an uphill battle at the minute as Cassiaro and Danny Santo of Tyre Sim Racing. And Tyre Sim Racing, talk about a team needing to bring home a win. They've just seen Panda Esports ejected from the playoff places and replaced by Team Ballas. They are only 12 points behind Ballas. They're only 22 points ahead of the Porsche of Zupancic there in 10. So to bring home the win at this stage, this will secure them a playoff spot. I don't think it's quite going to be close enough to get them close to Veldman. There is going to be a 20-point difference. So yeah, there's still going to be a big gap there. Veldman and the Audi, they should get themselves over 1,000 points in the championship, and I believe they will be only so the top 5, as things stand, the top 5 that go through automatically will be the only teams that have reached and breached 1,000 points. PLR are going to come very, very, very close in that Mercedes in 12th, but not quite reached that 1,000-point mark. We've got 15 minutes left of this one, George, and it is Cassiero and Santo completely inseparable. A bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush. I mean, what do you do at this point? Do you go for? You don't go for a crazy overtake if you're Cassiero, surely.
No, I think at this stage, patience is a virtue. It really, really is. And look, you know, you're going to secure a whole bunch of great points in P2. So, the difference between P2 and P1, I mean, it's not going to change things massively in the championship. You might not be thinking exactly that while you're in the driver's seat. You know, in the driver's seat, you're thinking, well, I'll take the opportunity when it presents itself. But
12th place.
12th place. Yes, you're right. Massini and Crook. I had it again, these two. Oh, Massini, that is not the angle you want to be on there at all. Tried to move back in the slipstream, got it all wrong, nearly took Crook out there. These two have been inseparable since Massimi took himself out at the pit wall entry that John recalled us through earlier on, and has been fighting desperately to hold onto the position, but Crook has finally made it on through and can begin his charge after Zupancic again. Pretty much guaranteed is Crook and the 383 Mercedes, a top 10 finish here because of the 10-second penalty that Zubanchik has. We're just running you through the battles at the moment, everyone. Right at the top, Santo and Cassiaro going at it. No penalties between these two. It's all to play for. Patience is the virtue. Keep it patient. Then we've got Piperetta here for the Italian Job Gold. They're holding a 5-second penalty. And guess what? Behind them, it is Polovichuk. He's within the 5 seconds, John. So it is really looking good for them on for a P3 finish. That'll be their second in 2 races.
Well, yeah, back-to-back podiums, back-to-back third places, and Team Ballas getting the job done. And in fact, yeah, you're right. They've actually, the results have been a bit of a dip. They didn't finish 2 of the races. The first round that we had, they actually finished 4th and 2nd. Since then, they finished as low as 11th, 19th, another 11th. There was a DNF as well. But in the 2 races previous to this, they did finish 3rd and 2nd. So those results definitely trending towards permanent podium positions. So no massive surprise that they're on the podium, but certainly a surprise nonetheless, because that is a strong field. They are down the order, and it's only because of Piperetta's penalty that they're going to get that podium. But it is going to be another podium, and it is going to secure them a place in a GT4 car in the finals by the look of it. And Doc Richard, the Panda eSport car, 15-second penalty trying to get past Veldman at the minute. So even if he gets the track, gets the overtake done, it certainly won't bring home those extra points. So more pride than anything. Veldman in 7th place for the fast forward race, and they're going to sneak themselves into the top 5. They're going to get the final GT4 place from this championship. Oh, up in 2nd place, it's 2:10 separating the top 2 as they come through the Schumacher-S. There's all the slipstream for Cassiero behind the Lamborghini. Can Danny Santo hang on to this one? The McLaren of Cassiaro is looking unbelievably quick. 11 minutes left to go, and it is a tall order at the minute, you would say, for Santo. Full defensive mode engaged, but down in Advan Bogan, the Lamborghini stretches the legs on the McLaren into the final chicane. And they're going to start another lap. Richmond still very close to Veldman, but the race lead still absolutely hanging in the balance.
You're absolutely right.
Again, unlikely.
Oh,
you go,
ahead.
George.
You go ahead. You go ahead.
I was going to say, yeah, we're unlikely to see any crazy moves here. I'm sure if Santo makes any kind of mistake, Cassiero will absolutely pounce. But these 2 drivers, penalty free up at the front. And it's going to get them both what they're looking for. Thomas Eng may not get the championship win. They're certainly going to get a GT3 car in the final. And we've got more penalties coming in. 383.
That is the Mercedes AMG.
Oh, wow.
PLR. Yes, that's the contact potentially earlier on in the battle they were having. That is going to cost them massively in this race. We also just saw Veldman get past. We've actually got a replay of that. We will see if we can get a little bit of an eye on what happened here, because Veldman suddenly dropped the position. I don't know if it was a good run here from Losk and the Panda Esports Racing. Looks like it was. Big send, maybe? Yes, it was a huge send, and contact between the 2 as well. So a bit of a cheeky move there from the Panda Racing team that could pick them up a penalty on top of the 15 seconds they've already got. Veldman just needs to hold on and be patient at this point.
Yeah, he does, and that one definitely looked like it would. That might fall the way of a penalty for the Panda Racing car. So a position gained on track will likely to be lost in points anyway when they come across the line. The battle for the race win, though, it's looking spicy. We've got 10 minutes left to go. Danny Santo, the Tire Sim Racing Esports Lamborghini, is led for much of the race, and in the final 10 minutes, the race lead is still theirs, but can they bring this one home for the win? Thomas Eng will be looking for their 4th win of the series.
I believe that is correct.
Yeah, quickly doing them. Yeah, something along those lines. Yeah, they've taken a pole position, another race win in this field. No mean feat whatsoever. We've only seen... Yeah, sorry, remind me again, George. It's in your notes, but we've got... What do we have?
Let me double check here. So we do have... we've
5 race winners.
5 race winners at the moment.
Only 5 teams that have won.
Yep, Italian
out
Gold,
of 14 races.
Yep, Yeah, Rocket Sim Sport, VDES, and PLR won each for those previous three. 3 for Thomas Enns, trying to make it a 4th. And Italian Job was 6. 6 race wins over the season.
Six.
So super impressive.
Well, 7 after, seven
Yes,
after
no,
winning
good point.
Nurburgring 1.
Yes, no,
Yeah,
that's a good point.
they've won another one, and they took pole in quali as well. Dominant.
Exactly.
All the way how close these two are, though.
I mean, those are season stats you're going to be proud of no matter where you finish. I mean, even if they finish in 2nd place, you look at those and you go, yeah, well, I mean, with those stats, you're not going to finish in 2nd place. But you know what I mean. I mean, you've got to be proud of that regardless. And all that Santo running wide. Cassiano now has the run out of turn 8 up into the Schumacher S's. Not going to be good side by side. Backs out. Oh, tries for the cutback as well. That is not the place to do it. But Santo's going to have to hold the inside line now into turn 9. Oh dear, that's going to be close. This is getting very, very spicy between these two now. And by the way, another 10 seconds picked up for Panda Esports Racing for that contact with Veldman. So 25 seconds penalty at the end of this race. They are out of the top 10.
Yes, indeed they are, and that is going to be costly. They're already out with the playoff positions before this race. They really needed to bring home the bacon in this one. It's not to be, as we are watching the two drivers battle for the lead of the race through the final chicane battle to hold on the cars. The Lamborghini and the McLaren really are keeping their drivers on their toes as they finish lap number 27. We've got 7 minutes left to go. We've got 2 tenths separating the race winners. We've got Sabancic and Crook looking close. Oh, that's a long way to have a look. He's robbed himself of a lot of momentum into turn number 1, but certainly getting the exit into the Mercedes arena. Cassiano applying the pressure. And behind as well, I did mention the battle for 5th and 6th between Klassen and Malo, the two Simply Race drivers. Malo setting the fastest lap of the race so far with a 1:53.052.
Very impressive.
His teammate Martin Klassen has just set a lap time of 53.070. So the two of them are only separated by 18 hundredths of a second.
Very close. That is super, super close. Klassen would have loved that fastest lap. It wasn't to be, was it? It just wasn't to be at the end of the day. But actually, on that note, these two at the top are just passing the 555 car, blue flag traffic. You'll have to let both of them through. Back out of it, 555. Oh my goodness, that was close. Probably could have done a little bit more to back out of that, but gave Cassiaro there a bit of a heart attack, I think, going into the Schumacher S's. These two have been lapping consistently within a tenth of each other. So the last couple of laps there, 54.892 and a 55.007. The old 007 number returning to our screens. Obviously, within pretty close margins of each other, but Cassiaro's he's been within 0.3 of a second, 0.4 of a second for I think the last 15 minutes, John.
Yeah, he really has. He's just putting in an absolute championship drive. That's exactly what he needs to do, like we were saying. Bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush. There's no point in trying a risky overtake. You don't know, the driver ahead might try and close the door. Oh, as we see the McLaren just having a bit of a wiggle out the last corner. But yeah, you certainly want to make sure that you bring the car home. To finish first, you must first finish. And that's always a lot easier to do if the car's got no damage and you haven't done anything too crazy to put it into a wall. At the minute, Cassiaro, they know they've got the job done. The whole point in this is to get a spot in their grand final. A championship win would be nice, but 2nd place here will get you the GT3 spot in the finals, and that is main objective for all the cars involved. As we're watching Rakhmetov and Veldman going at it, we know that Rakhmetov is very, very, very quick. The VDES car looking to secure their place as well.
Oh, a nice move up the inside there. Deep though.
Oh no, it's not.
Yep. Yep. I'll eat my words on that one because yeah, he's really
looks
sent
good because you don't expect those drivers to make that type of mistake.
Exactly.
So when someone goes flying past on the brakes, it's not till they've run deep. Go, wow, that's a worldly of notes. No, sorry, he's run deep. My apologies. Let's move swiftly on.
Exactly. Yeah. Sometimes in commentary, it's not about what you know or see; it's about what you don't know. There's Klassen gone wide onto the gravel and through goes Malho. So the Simply Race teammates there exchanging places in unfortunate circumstances. Luckily, not a contact-related thing. That's very, very good. But Malho and the 22 car up now into P5 in this race. Polovichuk, by the way, still holding within that 5-second position of Piperata in the 179 car. So will at this stage still take P3. No change in position there. Top 2 heating up. Rachmanov is still on the back of Veltman, so he might have another try here. It's one of those things at turn 1, isn't it? We've seen that a couple of times. Whoa, dares to have a risky move up into that corner. Not really an ideal place there, but Rakhmatov for VDES Junior Esports looking very feisty here and really wants to get past that Audi and promote his car up into the P8 position. More points the merrier, as they do say. Veltman will have to go defensive once again into turn 14. Holds the door closed. Nothing that Rakhmatov can do through there, but goes a little bit deep. That could be a cutback for Rakhmatov. Inside line, he has up into turn 16. He's got it. Will he have it done, though? That's the question. Veltman holds the outside line. Space is given just by these two cars, and side by side, John, they will go up the pit straight.
Absolutely stunning manoeuvres and positioning by both cars, and they're going to go side by side. They're going to remain side by side into turn number 1 and into the Mercedes arena. The Audi much later on the brakes, trying to hang it right round the outside and carry all the momentum. It's a good line by the Mer, but it is the Audi that's got the better run, I would say, or certainly better positioned to make a move back towards 8th position. Rakhmatov, oh, that's a bit sloppy on the exit, if we're being honest. Then it's Veltman that's got the better run through the Mercedes arena. But it is Rakhmatov that's held on to this one, the VDES junior car in 4th place. And these two actually are battling in the championship. It's actually VDES and Fast Forward that are 4th and 5th in the championship. But there is a 40-point deficit between the two of them, so I can't see those positions changing hands. 2 minutes left to go. Let's make sure that all make it to the end and I don't get some massive curse of the commentator onto this one.
Exactly right.
I don't think we're going to see much though. Battle up for 2nd place, George. Sorry, 1st and 2nd, George, with 2 minutes left to go. No one's given up at the front. Danny Santos just needs to keep this clean, because I think we all know that Cassiaro is not sticking any crazy noses or going full send on this one.
I don't think there's any point at this stage in the championship and in the race. Last race of the season, you want to bring home the points in P2. They've done a good job here in race 2. Manages to get through the early chaos with the reverse grid. Held on to things well. There's no point in taking any massive risk unless Santo makes some, absolutely tragic mistake from P1. There is really no need to make a big send anywhere. That's a bit of counter steer there. Gets offline through the Mercedes arena. Holds on to it. Santo will remain ahead. There will be, I think, maybe one more lap in this race with Will stay on board and B, but we also did see Crook getting up ahead of Zupanchik, so manages to get that Mercedes AMG past the Porsche once again in this race. I think that's the 3rd time that's happened between those two, so Crook will move up into P10, but with a 15-second penalty will drop out of that. Massimi, who held a lot of the damage early on, that massive contact into the wall, it actually looks like they'll get promoted up into the top 10. John. So we'll see what happens with those two, but the rest of the grid looking fairly spread out at this point. All eyes at this stage on these top 2. The race win is being stared down by De Santo, and Thomas Enge will be looking to take P2 there.
Yeah, they will. Another trip onto the podium for Thomas Eng. A 1st trip. Oh no, sorry, a 2nd trip onto the podium as well for Tire Sim Racing. Of course, they got 3rd place at Valencia last week, their best finish of the season so far, and this is going to massively outweigh that one. Of course, coming into the final chicane, there's 6 seconds left on the clock. The curious case of the countdown timer. No, there we go, it has got to 0, so this will be the final time. Tim Cook furiously waving the checkered flag. The enthusiasm unending there, and it's a phenomenal win. Tire Sim Racing Esports leaving it right down to race number 14, but they get themselves a win. In 2nd is Thomas Eng Sim Racing, and the Italian Job Setups Gold Car. Another podium, and that confirms a phenomenal championship win. Polovchuk, congratulations for getting Team Ballas. We'll get a quick look at where those stand and see them, but I believe that gives them 6th place, not quite enough to do 5th. Of course, in memory of Christian Calagrosa. So congratulations to the team for bringing that one home. And Rafael Malo for Simply Race, they will secure a spot in the top 3, the final GT3 car from this championship. And VDES Juniors will get 4th. Martin Klassen finished in 6th with Panda Esports dropping down to 12th place, George. As you can see, the penalties kicking in. Malho 4th, Piperetta in 5th, Klassen 6th, Rakhmatov in 7th, Veldman 8th, Massimi in 9th, Bjorn Dale in 10th, and then it is the terrible trio. No, it is the terrible quadruple. Zupanchik, Richard, Crook and Lynn. All picking up penalties and finding themselves ejected from the top 10. Interesting times ahead for those with calculators.
Yeah, too right. Really, really is. We'll be keeping an eye on those results as they do come in. Some comments from the chat as well. Omare Moore says, hold on, Holly, you've got it. Only one more. Let's go, Tyre. Stew! Smiley as well coming in, one of our moderators and FRL admins and organizers, thanking us for the comms for the season. That's primarily you, John. I've only been in here for the last couple of races, but thanking us for a fantastic job. And congratulating all the qualifiers, which I completely agree. I second that 100%. It's been a pretty tough 7-race season for a lot of these teams, a lot of these drivers. To have it all culminate in such a fantastic race here at Nurburgring, with the result coming down to the absolute wire in the last 2 races. Brilliant season. Congratulations to the qualifiers. We look forward to seeing you all in the VCO Grand Finals later this year.
Indeed, yeah. The top 3 get themselves a GT3 car in the November-December 3 race endurance series. 4th and 5th will get themselves a GT4. Who are 4th and 5th? Who are 6th, 7th and 8th? 6th, 7th and 8th get a playoff in October. It's going to be right down to the wire to see who that is. I'm sure the mods are working furiously in the background. Couple of penalties that might have to be looked at. So that any results we get at the moment would be purely provisional, I believe, anyway. Let me have a look. There is... yeah, just checking Discord. Social, so nothing in there at the minute. But yeah, it is safe to say that the Italian Job Gold car have made it through to the finals. They have won the championship. In 2nd place it is Thomas Eng Sim Racing, and in 3rd it is Rocket Simsport. Those 3 cars will all get GT3 cars in the final. Now, 4th place is VDES Juniors in car 410. They have got, yeah, they have definitely got a gap over Fast Forward Racing. Fast Forward finished ahead of PLR, so I believe that Fast Forward will, in the Audi, they will, unless there's some massive penalty at the end, they will take the GT4 spot. So from this, again, these are provisional results that we're bringing you at the moment. Please jump on the Formula Racing League's Discord and SimGrid page, and you can keep up to date with all of that.
Correct. And
mentioned actually they've got 4 channels. Sorry, on you go. Yes.
Well, they've got 4 channels, exactly right. 2 PS5 channels, 2 PC-based channels, Formula Racing League TV. So make sure, if you've been enjoying the series, if you've been enjoying what's happening in the Formula Racing League, join their Discord, follow the channel. I trust me, they will have a lot more excellent racing coming up in the next, well, hopefully for years to come, John. Hopefully for years to come. We've got the standing sport actually up on the screen right now as well. I will do a refresh at some point, but as you said, provisional at this stage. We probably won't see the final results come in, so that'll be something to look out for on the Discord.
Yes, it will, but the standings are up on the SimGrid, and looking at the gaps, it does look fairly comprehensive. Wow.
Wow.
1 point separates Team Ballast and Tyre Sim Racing. Wow. 1 point, and they've both snuck it through with a 58-point gap over Slovakia. Panda Racing finish in 10th, but confirmation on 1,320 points it is the Italian Job Gold. At 1,284 points, Thomas Eng Sim Racing. 1,234 points, Rocket Simsport. So those 3 confirmed will make it through the final in the GT3s. Then on 1,197 it was VDES Racing in the McLaren. Go on the fast forward in the Audi. They've made it into 5th place with 1,049. So again, the top 5, the only teams making it above the 1,000-point mark. PLR Esports, 975 points in 16. Ballast, 970 points. Only 5 points behind in 7th. And they finished, of course, a point ahead of Tire Sim Racing. There may be some variation in that due to penalties, but given that the top 8 have got a 15-8-point gap over 9th, I think it's safe to say that those are the final standings. 6 points, George, separating the drivers in the playoff spots. And the drivers and teams at the top, just otherworldly. This final is going to be incredible.
It is going to be incredible. That is so close for the end of the season. Congratulations to all the teams, the top 3, of course, top 5, and everyone in the top 10. What a season you've all had, and hats off to you. Pat yourselves on the back, because you absolutely deserve it, no matter where you've ended up in the standings. It's all to play for. The GD4 spots will be under contention, and that will really be quite one to watch, I think.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that playoff. Absolutely 100%. That's in October. So again, make sure you get yourself on the SimGrid website, get yourself onto FRL's Discord, Formula Racing League, and make sure you give their YouTube channel a follow as well. All the races back catalogue there for ease of perusal. Yeah. I believe is the word we were looking for there. That is all that we have got time for this evening. We'll get a quick goodbye from George as well. I've kind of taken over this bit, although George did have to take over the broadcast, so massive thank you as well to George Cook for the broadcast this evening. After my internet decided to have an evening off, he stepped in mid-broadcast and made everything work. Thank you to Jan Polak in the chat, Flawed Genius Gaming on the audio monitoring as well. Smiley was in there, Alan Brown in the chat, Hazy starting the world's craziest hashtag Raven is a legend. I'm not quite sure about that. And Omar hello as well in the chat. Smiley, of course, again, I'm going to reiterate that. Congratulations everyone that's made it to the final. What a series that was, and what a final we were in for. George, yeah, great night, mate, and yeah, thank you and congratulations for taking over so flawlessly, my friend.
Oh, my pleasure. I mean, other than putting the GT3 nightclub graphic accidentally momentarily on the screen, I think it was a pretty smooth transition. It's unfortunate the internet on your side decided to just sort of take a night off. It's very unfortunate, but I'm always happy to step in here. Always a pleasure to be in the commentary box with you, John, the international man of motorsport here, one of the legendary commentators in the esports area. So always a pleasure, mate. Always having a great time in the comms box here. Thank you for involving me in the Super Sprint Series as well. Thank you to the FRL organisers. It's been a pleasure, and hopefully I'll see you all in the commentary box at some point soon.
Indeed. And with that, we will leave you with some highlights potentially. Oh no, we'll just bring it straight to a close tonight. We'll bring it straight to a close. It's been a long night. It's been a long morning for George. But yes, thank you all for tuning in. Whatever it is you do for the rest of your evening, stay safe, take it easy, and have a great rest of your night. Good night.